Chapter 3043. When the people of the Imperial Thunder Sect noticed Xiaohua's battle achievements, they naturally turned their gazes towards Xiaohua's process of entering the Imperial Thunder Sect and his growth in the sect. They naturally discovered Xiaohua's hidden fangs, such as his abnormality in the disciple selection and his fame in the Feather Immortal Assembly. However, these weren't enough to prove anything, and they didn't care too much about it, just like the reactions of the many nascent soul masters in the Great Thunder Hall. Because in a large sect like the Imperial Thunder Sect, a cultivator like Xiaohua would appear almost every 10 years. Even if Xiaohua's battle achievements surpassed Li Zongbao's, it probably wouldn't attract more attention. After all, as Dui Qiming said, in every great battle, there would inevitably be disciples who would stand out, and after every great battle, there would definitely be more Foundation Establishment disciples who would come to ask for advice from these outstanding disciples. In the end, these friendly and malicious exchanges would smooth out the edges of these disciples. What really attracted the attention of all the disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect was the change in Xiaohua's attitude. Whether it was Xiaohua's outstanding results in entering the Imperial Thunder Sect or his miraculous performance in the Feather Immortal Assembly, Xiaohua didn't seem to have any intention of showing off. But after the great battle, when Xiaohua returned to the Myriad Thunder Valley for the first time, he changed. That day, when facing thousands of aura refining disciples, Xiaohua actually dared to trigger heavenly lightning and even used soul stab. While intimidating the aura refining disciples, he also attacked the Foundation Establishment disciples. There had never been a Foundation Establishment disciple who dared to do so, and there had never been a meritorious member of the Imperial Thunder Sect who dared to do so. Perhaps the disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace had such capital, or perhaps the disciples of the Earthly Thunder Palace dared to have such thoughts, but there would never be a Thunderous Thunder Palace disciple who dared to have such thoughts, even if he was a late Foundation Establishment cultivator. Not to mention that the Myriad Thunder Valley was merely an inconspicuous location of the Thunderous Thunder Palace, and Xiaohua was merely a mid-Foundation Establishment disciple. Therefore night came, and so did the climax of the 8 great Thunder Palaces. There were even more Thunder Note talismans flying around than during the day. The disciples who were normally in seclusion all came out of seclusion. Everyone was discussing with each other, and their faces were in high spirits. It was 10 times more exciting than when they learned that Xiaohua had made a great contribution in the Great Battle of Daoan Sword. In this world, there were far more people who wanted to see you make a fool of than those who wanted to see you succeed. Even in the Thunder Immortal Peak's Great Thunder Palace, the 7 lofty palace masters of the 7 great thunder palaces, as well as the numerous palace masters of the various thunder palaces, each with a different expression, are looking at the palace guard who is reading the message Jade Slip. His expression was one of schadenfreude, one of shock, one of pity, and one of contemplation. Slap. Fairy Xianhua slapped her own thigh. Her expression was different from everyone else's. It was extreme anger. This frightened the palace guard who was reciting the message to immediately shut his mouth and looked at Fairy Xianhua, who was sitting on the praying mat, with some fear. Fairy Xianhua waved her hand and said, "There's no need to read it. You may leave." After the palace guard had quietly left the Great Lightning Palace, Fairy Xianhua coldly glanced at her surroundings before her gaze landed on the expressionless face of Reverend Lei Tan. Unfortunately, Lei Meng Daoist did not seem to be aware of it. Even after Fairy Xianhua stared at him for half a cup of tea's time, he still did not raise his head. "Junior brother Lightning Meng," Fairy Xianhua helplessly called out, "Your Thunder Palace's disciple wants you to be the witness? Didn't you hear?" Thunder Meng Daoist's eyebrows did not move as he indifferently replied, "He's just a mid-Foundation Establishment disciple. What qualifications does he have to make I be the witness?" "Then you don't plan to interfere?" Fairy Xianhua asked again. "Interfere?" This time Thunder Meng Daoist raised his head and asked curiously, "A Foundation Establishment disciple from the 7 Great Lightning Palaces challenged my Thunder Palace's disciple. Senior Sister Xianhua, who do you want me to interfere? Order Xiaohua? Don't let Xiaohua accept the challenge? Senior Sister Xianhua, why don't you let the 7 Great Lightning Palace's disciple withdraw the challenge?" If not for Xiaohua's arrogance, daring to strike thousands of qi refining disciples with lightning, who would challenge a meritorious subject like him? Fairy Xianhua angrily said. However, when the word meritorious official was mentioned, Fairy Xianhua's anger flared up again. She was practically flustered and exasperated as she cursed. This Xiaohua truly deserves to die. Why doesn't he look at the big picture? Why doesn't he have the consciousness to share the burden of our Yuanying masters? Why doesn't he have the slightest bit of responsibility? Why does he hold on to his meritorious service in the Dao Sword War so tightly, not willing to let go at all? I'm only temporarily letting him bear some responsibility. Didn't I say it clearly in the decree? There's no punishment. Everything can wait until sect master comes out of seclusion. When the time comes, won't everything be over with a word from sect master? Moreover, when Qian Qinghua's matter is announced, won't he have another meritorious service? Won't I also take advantage of the situation to erase his mistakes? I'm doing this for his own good. In order to better temper him. Why doesn't he understand my painstaking efforts? Why can't he enter seclusion in Myriad Thunder Valley? If he enters seclusion like that helplessly for 10 years, won't everything be over? It was rare for Fairy Xianhua to lose her temper like this. Although she was talking about Xiaohua, her eyes were staring at Thunder Meng Daoist, clearly blaming him for not dealing with Xiaohua. But after Thunder Meng Daoist raised his head and said a few words, he immediately lowered his head, pretending not to have seen anything. This made Fairy Xianhua even more furious. Unfortunately, a Yuanying cultivator like Fairy Xianhua, who was also the palace master of Heavenly Thunder Palace, had forgotten that the root of all this, wasn't it them who inverted right and wrong, confusing black and white and saying that Xiaohua's meritorious service was a mistake? Since that was the case, why should Xiaohua endure such humiliation? Why should Xiaohua hide in Myriad Thunder Valley and not come out? Why should they say that forbearance is for the big picture? The ones who should bear responsibility should be these high and mighty Yuanying cultivators, right? Xiaohua is a rogue cultivator who just entered Imperial Thunder Sect and has just entered Foundation Establishment. My Thunderclap Palace didn't have time to properly teach him before he was sent to the Dao Sword War. He doesn't have a big picture. That's normal. Thunder Meng Daoist suddenly raised his head, causing Fairy Xianhua to be stunned. At the side, Zhen Yunzi's expression slightly changed. Obviously, Thunder Meng Daoist was hinting that the Thunder Palace's teaching was not strict enough. Thus, Zhen Yunzi said indifferently, according to what this old man knows, Xiaohua was not taught in my Thunder Palace when he entered Imperial Thunder Sect. He was sent to the Eastern Ridge Herb Garden. Even if my Thunder Palace wanted to, we were powerless. Forget it. Fairy Xianhua waved her hand and said, it's just a few Foundation Establishment disciples who are causing trouble. Let them fight. This old woman wants to see how many Xiaohua can kill. Immediately, Fairy Xianhua raised her head again and said angrily, now that Heaven Patrol City has been surrounded by my Dao Sect's cultivators, I'm afraid that even if the sword cultivator has wings, it will be hard for him to escape. If it was a normal situation, my Dao Sect would have already won. But now, tens of thousands of my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples have fallen into Heaven Patrol City. In the end, I'm afraid that they will become hostages. Even, this old woman has a premonition. Shanghua Sect's Sun Yunzi and the others will definitely not let go of this opportunity. Although they won't openly force the sword cultivator to death, the outcome will definitely be disastrous. The sword cultivator won't be able to defend Heaven Patrol City and will suffer great losses. My Imperial Thunder Sect and Mo Sang Mountain's disciples will all be slaughtered in Heaven Patrol City. At such a critical moment, how can Xiaohua be so ignorant of the big picture? Unexpectedly, Fairy Xianhua mentioned Xiaohua again. Thunder Meng Daoist's eyebrows twitched and he almost spoke again. However, he glanced at the empty palace and sighed in his heart. Great Thunder Palace was originally in contact with Reverend Miyu, who was in the war. However, after they entered Heaven Patrol City, the sword cultivator rarely harassed Heaven Patrol City. Thus, Great Thunder Palace ignored it and often did not contact Reverend Miyu for dozens of days. Reverend Miyu also did not report the situation of the war. Or rather, Reverend Miyu herself did not know much about the situation of the war and had to rely on other disciples to report back. Even the news of the fall of Heaven Patrol City was reported by other disciples. Great Thunder Palace then hurriedly tried to contact Reverend Miyu but to no avail. Great Thunder Palace naturally had contact with Sun Yunzi and the others. Unfortunately, as the war intensified, especially when Heaven Patrol City was besieged, Sun Yunzi mostly ignored the Imperial Thunder Sect's contact. Now that the Imperial Thunder Sect had lost contact with Sun Yunzi, they naturally lost control of the situation in Heaven Patrol City and had to obtain a lot of information from other places. Fairy Xianhua could not do anything to Sun Yunzi. She could not get the news of Heaven Patrol City and the tens of thousands of disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect. How could she not be angry when she encountered the Imperial Thunder Sect's troublesome matters? However, Thunder Meng Daoist was also clear that most of the Foundation establishment disciples who challenged him were from Qian Thunder Palace and Earth Thunder Palace. Although there were some from other Thunder Palaces, they were all instigated by some people to join in the fun. Thunder Meng Daoist was even more clear that although the 8 great Thunder Palaces each had their own system, which seemed to disperse the power of the sect leader and reduce the work of the sect leader, the 8 great Thunder Palaces each had their own way of doing things, which led to internal strife. The Heavenly Thunder Palace and the Earth Thunder Palace had always been the leaders, suppressing the disciples of the other 6 great Thunder Palaces. These Foundation establishment disciples who challenged were mostly ordered by the palace masters of the 2 great Thunder Palaces. Sure enough, Fairy Xianhua opened her mouth and said angrily, "Palace Guard, when did the latest news from Heaven Patrol City come? Don't you have the latest news?" "Palace Master." A late Foundation establishment disciple hurried in and answered with a bow, "The latest news from Heaven Patrol City was received the day before yesterday morning. Our Dao sect disciples are still setting up a formation. It seems to be a very powerful formation, but the participating disciples do not know what kind of formation it is. They are afraid that the news will leak out, so the sword cultivators have taken precautions. If there are no accidents, the latest news should be sent back in 2 hours. Humph, report immediately if you have any news." Fairy Xianhua snorted coldly, obviously extremely dissatisfied. She waved her hand and motioned for the disciple to leave. Chapter 3044. Senior Sister Xianhua. Zhen Yunzi said in a low voice, "Setting up the array is not something that can be done in a day. Even if the latest battle report comes in, it will still be the same. There won't be anything that we want. Unless the formation succeeds or fails, there won't be any new news. In short, no matter if it's a victory or a defeat, it's not something we want to see." Fairy Yao Feng of Distant Thunder Palace sighed. "Apart from waiting, there's nothing else we can do." For a moment the entire Great Thunder Palace fell into its usual silence. "Shenhu." Suddenly, Thunder Meng Immortal spoke. "Disciple is here." Among the dozen or so palace masters on duty, Shenhu, the palace master of 100 Refining Palace, was taken aback and hurriedly bowed. "You don't have to come to Great Thunder Palace tomorrow. Go to the Thunder Arena." Thunder Meng Daoist says indifferently, "Xiaohua has already asked this old man to be the witness. Although this old man cannot go, but I cannot let others bully my Thunder Palace's disciples. If you go and be the witness, you can also report the situation to us. Of course, the most important thing is to not let this matter blow up." "Yes, disciple understands." Zhen Heyu bowed and retreated to the back. "Qian Fingju." Fairy Xianhua glanced at Thunder Meng Immortal and said, "You're the palace master of Heavenly Thunder Palace's Heavenly Thunder Palace and in charge of fights. This Thunder Arena is also your responsibility. You should go and take a look. I'd like to see how many disciples Xiaohua can kill." "Yes," a late Gold Core disciple hurriedly bowed, but there was some disapproval on his face. "It's the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples' right to go to the Thunder Arena, but we can't let them do whatever they want. We can't let them make a big deal out of it, especially, now is a critical time. Don't kill too many people." Fairy Xianhua added. "Disciple understands." Qian Fingju naturally nodded. A battle on the Thunder Arena had attracted so much attention before it even started. This was probably the first time something like this had happened since the Imperial Thunder Sect was founded. The next day, in front of the Cosmos Thunder Palace's Temple of Life and Death, Xue Minghui and the others, who were led by the Cosmos Thunder Palace's disciples who wore respectful expressions but whose eyes were filled with unconcealable disdain, were stunned by the scene before them. Xiaohua had previously entered the Temple of Life and Death of the Thunder Palace. He also knew that the majority of the deacons in the Temple of Life and Death were in the middle or late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Ordinary disputes between disciples only required this deacon to step forward and open the Temple of Life and Death. Only disputes between Jindan stage disciples could possibly alarm the higher-level Jindan stage cultivators. Of course, just one Jindan stage cultivator of this level was more than enough. But now, in front of the triangular view of life and death that was completely different from Thunderclap Palace's view of life and death, there were actually 4 Jindan stage masters. Furthermore, to the left of these 4 core formation masters, there were also over a dozen late-stage foundation establishment disciples. Unfortunately, although there were many core formation masters, other than Zhenqing who was standing at the very end, Xiaohua didn't recognize any of the 3 core formation masters and the dozen or so late-stage foundation establishment disciples. Zhua Minghui, who was at the very front, didn't dare to be negligent. She took a few steps forward and bowed in greeting. Disciple Zhua Minghui greets Senior Martial Brother He Yu and Senior Martial Brother Zhenqing. Greetings to the 2 Senior Martial Brothers. That's right, even Zhua Minghui didn't seem to recognize the other 2 Jindan stage masters. He, Junior Martial Sister Minghui, you don't need to be so courteous. Xiaohua, you and the others also get up. Zhen Heyu raised his hand and said with a smile. Come Minghui, this old man will introduce you to the 2 Senior Martial Brothers of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Yes, Zhua Minghui hurriedly nodded. This is Qian Fengju, the Hall Master of Heavenly Thunder Palace's Hall Master of Diligent Thunder Hall. He's in charge of our Imperial Thunder Sect's Thunder Arena. Now, Senior Martial Brother Qian has received orders from Fairy Xianhua of Great Thunder Palace to come and judge this life and death battle. Zhen Heyu pointed at the late-stage Jindan stage cultivator and said, Greetings to Hall Master Qian. Hearing that it was the Hall Master of Heavenly Thunder Palace, Zhua Minghui was even more shocked. She hurriedly bowed again. Behind her, Xiang Yang, Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan also respectfully bowed. This is Senior Martial Brother Qian Pingming of Heavenly Thunder Palace. He was invited by Martial Nephew Qian Yuhe to be the judge. Zhen Heyu pointed at the other middle stage Jindan stage cultivator and introduced him. Although Zhua Minghui and the others were respectful towards Qian Pingming, it was only towards Senior Martial Brothers and Jindan stage cultivators. It couldn't compare to Qian Fengju. However, Qian Pingming didn't mind. He politely bowed and stood behind Qian Fengju again. In the end, Zhen Heyu said to Xiaohua with a smile, Xiaohua, I presume you still don't know who this old man is? That's right. Senior Martial Uncle Zhen. This disciple didn't go to Heavenly Thunder Palace much after entering the Imperial Thunder Sect. Then I went to the training in the Battle of Daosword. As for the teachers of Heavenly Thunder Palace, I really don't know many of them. Xiaohua said with a smile. It was because of the Feather Immortal Assembly that this disciple met Senior Martial Uncle Zhenqing. Zhen Heyu looked at Zhenqing and laughed. It seems that this old man isn't as famous as the teachers of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Senior Martial Brother Zhen, you must be joking. Zhenqing also laughed. Xiaohua has been in Heavenly Thunder Palace ever since he entered the Imperial Thunder Sect. To be honest, I think that Xiaohua is more suitable to be a disciple of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Junior Martial Brother Zhen is the one joking. Zhen Heyu waved his hand. How could Thunder Mengzhenren let go of such an outstanding disciple like Xiaohua? Then Zhen Heyu said to Xiaohua, Xiaohua, this old man is the Hall Master of 100 Refinements Palace, Zhen Heyu. I'm here on the orders of Thunder Mengzhenren to be your judge. Thank you, Senior Martial Uncle Zhen. Thank you, Senior Martial Uncle Zhen. Panic appeared on Xiaohua's face. This junior was just joking. I didn't expect that Martial Ancestor really heard it. It's not just the Palace Master who heard it. Zhen Heyu laughed mischievously. The other 5 Palace Masters also heard it. Otherwise, how could this old man be standing here? Then this is troublesome. Xiaohua cried out in alarm. What's wrong? Zhen Heyu was startled and asked curiously. Xiaohua said solemnly, Yesterday this disciple already said in my myriad Thunder Valley that every night, a challenge jade slip will be picked out. Before this disciple said this, there were only a few hundred challenge jade slips, seemingly less than 1,000. This morning this disciple discovered that there are already 1,800 challenge jade slips. If the Palace Master is here to be the judge all the time, good gracious, that's a full 3 years. How should the affairs of 100 Refinements Palace be handled? Zhen Heyu laughed loudly. Ignorant child. Really arrogant. Among the dozen or so disciples of Heavenly Thunder Palace in the late stage of Foundation establishment, a fat old man with a white face and no beard coldly snorted with an ugly expression. No matter, no matter. Zhen Heyu acted as if he didn't hear the words of the Foundation establishment disciple and looked at Xiao Hua. This old man will stay in the life and death temple. You kill for a few days, this old man will stay for a few days. The affairs of 100 Refinements Palace are naturally taken care of by the Deputy Palace Master. However, Martial Nephew Xiao, you should be concerned about your martial uncle Qian. You have occupied the Life and Death Temple for 3 years, do others still want to use it? Unexpectedly, Qian Fengju also laughed and said, no matter, no matter. As long as Martial Nephew Xiao is not afraid of being exhausted to death, this old man will also guard the Thunder Field every day and not let others in. Thank you for your trouble, martial uncles. Xiao Hua seemed to be even more thick-skinned and bowed solemnly. Okay. Qian Fengju nodded slightly and stopped smiling. He looked up at the Life and Death Temple and said lightly, this old man hasn't judged a life and death duel for a long time. Right now, I don't know how many pairs of eyes are staring at the Thunder Field in front of the Life and Death Temples of the other 7 great Thunder Palaces. Xiao Hua, Qian Yuha, I'll give you the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare. This old man is going to open the Life and Death Temple. Yes, disciple understands. At the same time that Xiao Hua agreed, the fat old man also bowed and answered. Xiao Hua. After Xiao Hua accompanied Zhuo Minghui and the others to the side, Zhen Qing walked over and said apologetically, previously in Great Thunder Palace, this old man. Alas, this old man knows that you have been wronged, but this old man doesn't have the authority to discuss matters in Great Thunder Palace. I can't even say a single word for you, this old man. That day in Great Thunder Palace, Xiao Hua was unbearably angry and left with a flick of his sleeves. He simply didn't think that Zhen Qing would still be in Great Thunder Palace. Now that he heard Zhen Qing's words, he actually came specifically to explain this matter. Incomparably moved, he hurriedly bowed and said, Martial uncle, you are too polite. Great Thunder Palace is not a place to speak out for justice. You being able to have the heart to defend your disciple is better than anything else. The Imperial Thunder Sect with you is the Imperial Thunder Sect in this junior's heart. Alas, actually, you don't have to be like this. Zhen Qing sighed. Your contributions are the focus of the entire sect and no one can erase them. You only need to do nothing and there will naturally be a day when the truth comes to light. You being so rash. I'm afraid that you will ruin things. Alas, Martial Uncle Zhen, without waiting for Xiao Hua to speak, the nearby Xiang Yang also sighed and said, your thoughts are the same as this junior's. Actually, this junior feels that there are many things that you don't have to fight to understand. Sometimes being muddle-headed is also a kind of happiness. However, junior martial brother Xiao didn't listen. Currently, only Martial Aunt is in charge of our 10,000 Thunder Valley. Haha, Martial Uncle Zhen, eldest martial brother. Xiao Hua smiled, a very brilliant smile, and said in a low voice, if this was before the great battle of Dao and Sword, this junior might have had the same thoughts as you. Perhaps I would have swallowed this cowardice down. However, after the great battle, this junior has seen too many deaths and also seen too many conspiracies. To say something heinous, this junior's actions during the great battle are enough to affect the outcome of the great battle. Since that's the case, why should this junior shrink back? Facing the sword cultivator's flying sword, facing the giant's long rod, facing the unknown hidden arrows. This junior isn't afraid, so who cares about the challenge of a few Foundation establishment cultivators? What makes this junior the most uneasy is that countless low-level disciples died during the great battle of Dao and Sword. I don't know if the names of these low-level disciples will be remembered by our Imperial Thunder Sect or the other sects, but they died for the ideals in their hearts, for the sect in their hearts, for the heavenly Dao that they cultivated. They don't regret it, but what about other people? Perhaps in other people's eyes they are chess pieces, they are bait, they are sacrificed to lure the sword cultivators to their deaths. This junior feels that it's not worth it for them. This junior is also a low-level disciple like them. This junior feels that I should let others know that although we are low-level disciples, our contributions cannot be erased. Chapter 30-45. Zhen Qing smiled bitterly. She looked at Zhen Heyu in the distance and said in a low voice, what you said is too extreme. Actually, Hall Master Qian of Jade Archive Hall also explained it to me. Haha, isn't it just a bit of forbearance, a bit of suppression, allowing this junior to guard against arrogance and rashness? It's good for this junior's growth. Xiaohua said somewhat disdainfully, this junior feels that merit is merit and mistakes are mistakes. There's no such thing as suppression. Besides, what makes you think that suppressing others is good for them? Just because he didn't allow others to stand out, he would definitely be able to do better in the future? Others have their own freedom. You don't have the right to affect others' freedom. At this point, Xiaohua saw that Zhen Qing's expression was a little bad. He took a deep breath and said, Martial uncle, I'm a little agitated. Forget it. Actually, I didn't say anything about the Great Thunder Hall. Even if that person came back, I didn't take credit for it. But then, thousands of qi refining disciples besieged my myriad Thunder Valley. I was really angry. From then on, I decided that I won't lower my head in front of anyone no matter what. Zhen Qing sighed and said, when an ordinary man is angry, blood will splash everywhere. Because of your anger. I don't know how many Imperial Thunder Sect disciples will bleed. Without blood there will be no awareness. Without the fall of Sky Patrol City, there will be no awareness of the Taoist sect. Xiaohua sneered, maybe when the news of the failure of the Great Battle of Dao and Sword comes, the cultivators of the 3 cultivation countries will really understand how unreasonable their arrogance is. You should be careful. Hearing this, Zhen Qing came to a sudden realization. The Xiaohua before her was no longer the qi refinement disciple who had followed her to the Feather Immortal Assembly. After the baptism of the Great Battle of Dao and Sword, he had become a strong warrior. Although he had yet to condense his gold core, she could no longer convince him. Even Zhen Qing had a misconception that she might not be a match for Xiaohua with his confidence. In short, I thank Martial Uncle for your concern. Xiaohua knew that Zhen Qing was sincere and said with a smile, no matter what happens in the future, I will remember Martial Uncle's kindness. I'll remember. Zhen Qing smiled and looked at Jin Heyu. Qian Fengju was already whispering to Jin Heyu and was looking over. In fact, Xiaohua said so much, but the most important reason was that he couldn't say it. As a nameless nascent soul cultivator, how could he possibly lower his head to these foundation establishment disciples? His actions were also to pave the way for the revelation of John Doe's identity. Martial nephew Xiao. As expected, Jin Heyu called out loudly from afar, are you ready? Second senior brother. Cui Hongshan, who had been silent all this while, could not help but whisper, if it doesn't work, let's bear with it. There's no way out of enduring. Xiaohua laughed, fight. Only then would there be a way out. Besides, do you think your senior brother is someone who would rather die than submit? Seeing Xiaohua actually winking at him, Cui Hongshan smiled. That's right, he was too worried. Eldest senior brother and master's wife didn't know Xiaohua's cultivation, but how could he not know? How could someone who could kill Qin Jian and Tu Hong be afraid of a foundation establishment cultivator? The one who should be worried should be this unlucky bastard from the Heavenly Thunder Palace. Martial Uncle Jin, this junior is ready. Xiaohua said loudly. All right, wait for me. Qian Fengju waved his hand indifferently, indicating for Xiaohua and Qian Yuhe to come closer. You all know the rules of the Thunder Arena, right? Yes, this junior knows. The two said in unison. Good, then this old man will not say much. You two signed the life and death contract. This old man will open the view of life and death. Qian Fengju clapped his hands, taking out a red and blue life and death contract. After waiting for the two to sign their tokens, Qian Fengju carefully put them away, opened the triangular view of life and death, and said indifferently, you all can go in. Senior brother Qian is older. Please go first. Xiaohua looked at Qian Yuhe, who had a somewhat disdainful expression, and said with a smile. Who would have thought that Qian Yuhe would shake his head? Junior brother Xiao should go first. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to enter this view of life and death again in the future. Today this old man cannot steal your limelight. All right. Xiaohua was not angry and said with a smile. If senior brother Qian doesn't steal this Xiao's limelight, then this Xiao will also not steal senior brother Qian's limelight. When senior brother Qian's name is known throughout the Imperial Thunder Sect, don't forget to thank this Xiao. After saying that, Xiaohua lifted his foot and entered the red mirror, not allowing Qian Yuhe to say anything. Qian Yuhe looked at Xiaohua's figure disappearing in the mirror and coldly snorted. When this old man's name is known throughout the Imperial Thunder Sect, I will naturally burn incense for junior brother Xiao. You can rest assured about this. After saying that, he did not know if Xiaohua heard him and also rushed into the blue mirror. When Xiaohua stepped into the mirror, his vision also turned black, and the teleportation pressure came from all directions. After a moment, the teleportation pressure disappeared, and a faint red light barrier appeared in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua moved his gaze away from the lightning on the light barrier and looked into the distance. As before, the space was bright red and nothing could be seen clearly. Qian Yuhe Xiaohua, according to the usual practice, after 10 breaths, an illusion will appear in the thunder arena. As for what illusion, this old man does not know. You can do whatever you want in this illusion and all magic tools and magic treasures will not be affected. Qian Fengju's voice came from the sky. If 2 or 1 of you die, then 1 of you will die. Or if 1 of you admits defeat and the other accepts. Otherwise, you can't leave the thunder arena. This old man has not judged a life and death battle for many years, but today I will make an exception for you. Your fight. Not only this old man, junior brother Zhen Heyu and junior brother Qian Pingming can see it, but also the disciples of the other 7 lightning palaces gathered in the life and death temple can see it. You can rest assured, even if the 2 of you do not speak, this old man and dozens of disciples from the other palaces will act as witnesses for you. Alright, this old man will not say any more. This old man wants to see who will be the last disciple to leave the thunder arena. After Qian Fengju finished speaking, in a moment, Xiaohua's eyes lit up. Although this light was extremely dazzling, Xiaohua only slightly squinted his eyes, and did not close them like last time. This is... Xiaohua squinted his eyes, roughly looked around and sucked in a breath of cold air. But in front of him was a vast expanse of yellow sand as far as the eye could see, and the setting sun was hanging in the sky. What hit him in the face was a dry and earthy smell, as well as a biting cold wind whistling in all directions. Desert. Xiaohua had just thought of this when a gust of wild wind came from about 100 zhang away. At first, that gust of wind was only as thick as a thumb, but in a moment, it grew to several zhang in size. The wild wind rolled up the yellow sand, and directly sucked the yellow sand into the sky, unexpectedly forming a several hundred zhang tall sandstorm pillar. The entire sky, as well as the setting sun, was covered by the yellow sand. Zilalong, there was another burst of noise and countless lightning bolts were born outside the sandstorm pillar. An extremely arrogant voice came from the sandstorm pillar and lightning. Qian Yuhe's fat figure also appeared in the yellow sand. Xiaohua, your cultivation level is at the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm, and this old man is at the late stage of the foundation establishment realm. Therefore, this old man will not take advantage of you and will absolutely not launch a sneak attack. This old man will let you make the first move. He, Xiaohua laughed. Although he still had not seen Qian Yuhe's magic treasure, it was clear that Qian Yuhe not only had the thunder attribute physique commonly seen among the disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, but also had a wind attribute magic treasure. In this desert he was the nemesis of his fire attribute magic. But did Xiaohua have the fire attribute physique when he entered the Imperial Thunder Sect? Since senior martial brother Qian is so modest, then this Xiao will not be polite. After Xiaohua finished laughing, he softly responded. He also did not take out a magic treasure. His hands rubbed together and the magic power in his body surged as he struck out one spell after another. Rumble, the entire yellow sand ground trembled. Near the wild wind, in the space of several dozen zhang, several dozen sandstorm pillars, each as thick as a bowl, rose from the ground and pounced towards Qian Yuhe like pythons. Junior martial brother Xiao, you unexpectedly looked down on this Qian. Qian Yuhe saw that Xiaohua actually did not take out a magic treasure and sneered, then this Qian will not be polite. When your blood stains the yellow sand, you must remember, in your next life be a bit more tolerant. As Qian Yuhe's voice fell, the soaring sandstorm pillar suddenly fell, unexpectedly transforming into a several zhang large hand of yellow sand that fell towards Xiaohua and the surrounding sandstorm pillars. Immediately, the wind within several dozen zhang of space calmed down, and the yellow sand also came to a standstill. It seemed that even a corner of Xiaohua's Taoist robe floated up, unable to move. Teach, including the Heavenly Thunder Palace within the life and death temple of the 8 great Thunder Palaces, the several dozen cultivators watching the battle were all disdainful. A Heavenly Thunder Palace disciple familiar with Qian Yuhe even said, "Yuhe, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly use the wind condensing claw? Moreover, you even used your true essence to use a secret technique? Is this the hand of a nascent soul actually something that a mid-foundation establishment disciple can withstand? It's really an unfair victory. Even Zhua Minghui and Xiang Yang's faces paled. That's right, this is the hand of a nascent soul. Even Zhua Minghui, who is as strong as a gold core, cannot use it. Although Xiaohua's cultivation is strong, how could he be a match for the hand of a nascent soul? It seemed that at this moment in everyone's eyes, Xiaohua was already a dead man, someone who was about to be crushed into meat paste by the wind condensing claw. Ha! You want to take this Xiao's life with just this specious hand of a nascent soul? Qianyuhe, you are really too naive. Xiaohua looked at the space imprisoned by the so-called hand of a nascent soul as well as the several dozen sandstorm pillars that could not be moved. He laughed loudly, no longer urging his magic power to contend against the hand of a nascent soul. His entire body flashed with a blue light, and his entire body floated like a wisp of blue smoke soaring into the sky. Not only did he avoid the control of the hand of a nascent soul, but he also rushed to the left of the sandstorm pillar. Ah? What kind of flying technique is this? Seeing Xiaohua's ghost-like shadow as well as his appearance in the wind like a fish in water, even Qian Fingju was stunned. He somewhat doubtfully looked at Zhen Heyu. It seems to be the flowing cloud movement technique. Chapter 3046. I don't know. Zhen Heyu shook his head. However, even if Xiaohua has this strange flying technique, it will still be difficult for him to escape from Qianyuhe's magic treasure. Although this so-called nascent soul's hand is far inferior to a real nascent soul's hand, the sealing power is born from magic power. Xiaohua is only in the middle stage of foundation establishment. If he doesn't have an effective magic treasure, I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to resist. Let's see Xiaohua's magic treasure. Qian Fingju naturally saw Xiaohua's shortcomings with a glance. Just as the two golden core cultivators were discussing in low voices, the situation on the Thunder Arena changed greatly. But seeing Xiaohua's figure strangely approaching the wind pillar, Qianyuhe, who was inside the wind pillar, simply disdained him and even sneered in his heart. He pointed his finger at the magic treasure with 5 fingers inside the wind pillar above his head, preparing to send out a wave of magic power to meet Xiaohua's attack. Just as he urged his magic power and before the wind condensing claw could be activated, Xiaohua's figure suddenly flew towards the sky. However, following his figure, dozens or even hundreds of yellow talismans fell like cotton. Yellow talismans? Really funny. Qianyuhe almost laughed out loud. He really didn't think that in a life and death battle between Foundation establishment cultivators, someone would use yellow talismans. However, he still didn't dare to be negligent. He urged his magic power and yellow sand gushed out like a fountain, blocking the yellow talismans. Rumble, as soon as the magic power of the wind condensing claw touched the yellow talismans immediately exploded. Dozens or even hundreds of fireballs violently exploded, blasting the fountain-like yellow sand into pieces. What kind of yellow talisman is this? Qianyuhe somewhat understood Xiaohua's scheme. However, before he could urge his magic treasure again, another round of fireballs exploded around him. The lightning on the surface of the wind pillar protecting Qianyuhe was instantly shaved off by 40%. This fireball talisman is too powerful. At this moment, Qianyuhe wasn't afraid in his heart. He only lamented the power of Xiaohua's fireball talismans. Rumble, Xiaohua's fireball talismans seemed to be endless, surrounding Qianyuhe and scattering them. Everyone outside the life and death temple was somewhat dumbfounded. They really didn't understand Xiaohua's intentions. However, Xiang Yang, who was taught a lesson by Xiaohua's fireball talismans in the past, somewhat understood Xiaohua's thoughts. Eat this Xiao's staff. Qianyuhe's figure rapidly flew towards the sky. Just as he was about to dodge this round of fireball talismans, he heard Xiaohua's angry roar. He hurriedly scanned the area with his divine sense. Indeed, Xiaohua was holding a huge spiked club in his hand, and the spiked club was the nascent soul's hand. Woo! A mournful wind howled. Boom! The nascent soul's hand was actually smashed into pieces by the spiked club. Following the destruction of the nascent soul's hand, Xiaohua's figure didn't stop at all as he rushed towards Qianyuhe's head. A powerful force enveloped Qian Yuhe from afar. Qian Yuhe was greatly alarmed as he hurriedly used his wind-congealing claw to block the mace. Lightning flashed around his body as he clearly wanted to use his lightning evasion to escape from this shocking strike. Rumble, just as his figure flashed, dozens of fireballs appeared, shaking his body. Pung, a loud sound that shook the heavens and the earth resounded. The magic treasure wind-condensing claw was actually struck down by the spiked club. Its brilliance was extremely dim and it was obvious that it had suffered damage. What shocked everyone the most was that Qian Yuhe's figure was actually sent tumbling in midair by a fireball talisman. Not only was he in an extremely sorry state, even his complexion was pale. How could a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator catch the jade talisman that Xiaohua hid inside the fireball talisman without any preparation? Oh no! Qian Fengji was greatly alarmed as he glanced at Qian Pingming at almost the same time. Qian Pingming was also shocked. My life is over. Even Qian Yuhe's blood and qi were surging due to the fireball talisman. Coupled with the wind-congealing claw being damaged, his meridians were also damaged. His heart turned pale with fright. You can go to hell. Xiaohua, who was in midair, let out a sinister laugh. He waved his left hand and a flaming flying carpet rushed to Qian Yuhe's head. Qian Yuhe's quintessential essence quickly moved to resist. However, just as his quintessential essence surged, it was immediately wrapped up by the flaming carpet and could only barely move. Rumble, dozens of yellow talismans flew out, shaking Qian Yuhe, who was unable to use his magic power, until he was continuously rolling under the flaming carpet. However, no matter how he rolled, he was unable to escape from the flaming carpet's range. Moreover, as the fireballs exploded one after another, the protective brilliance around Qian Yuhe's body became increasingly faint. Boom! In the midst of the explosion, countless flames sprang out from the flaming carpet and surrounded Qian Yuhe. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the brilliance around Qian Yuhe's body was extinguished, and his Taoist robe was also unexpectedly burned. When the Taoist robe fell to the ground, Qian Yuhe's arms, legs, neck and a small part of his back that were as white as a female cultivator's. The other places were covered by a protective magic treasure. It was unknown whether Xiaohua's flaming carpet couldn't burn them, or if Xiaohua didn't deliberately burn them. Qian Yuhe, do you want to die or live? Xiaohua urged the flames to burn Qian Yuhe's protective magic treasure as he coldly said. This old man. Qian Yuhe was somewhat hesitant. That's right, who would want to die? However, now that he had been humiliated to such an extent by Xiaohua, how could he shrink back? Fine, since you don't want to live, this Xiao will fulfill your wish. Xiaohua urged the flames and coldly said, this Xiao will first break your protective magic treasure, then burn you to ashes. This old man is willing to live. Hearing that Xiaohua actually wanted to burn his final magic treasure, Qian Yuhe couldn't bear it anymore. The humiliation at that time was 100 times more humiliating than now. Moreover, there were other cultivators in the life and death temple of the 8 great lightning palaces watching. You should have done this long ago, Xiaohua sneered. His left hand hooked and the spiked club smoothly swung out, hitting Qian Yuhe's slightly fat buttocks. Qian Yuhe's physical body flew out from the flaming carpet with a whoosh, turning into a shooting star that charged into the yellow sand, landing somewhere unknown. Martial Uncle Zhen. Xiaohua put away the spiked club and the flaming carpet, not even looking at where Qian Yuhe went. He could only bow and say, Qian Yuhe admits defeat. This junior also doesn't want his life. Please be the witness. I request Hall Master Qian to open the life and death temple. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that this would be the outcome. Maybe some people thought that Xiaohua would win. Maybe some people thought that Xiaohua would establish his might and kill Qian Yuhe in the Thunder Arena. But no one thought that Xiaohua would win in this way. Not to mention those disciples who thought that Qian Yuhe would win early on. However, with Xiaohua's way of handling things, even if he didn't kill Qian Yuhe, what was the difference between that and killing Qian Yuhe? For a moment, those disciples who had already sent out the challenge jade slips and came to watch today felt somewhat disdainful in their hearts. They all had a kind of I would rather die feeling in their hearts, feeling that Qian Yuhe was too cowardly. However, when this kind of mournful feeling emerged, everyone suddenly stared blankly. That's right, even if you die you won't surrender. But if you don't surrender, Even if you don't surrender, Xiaohua will burn your Taoist robes, burn your personal magic treasures, and expose your secrets in front of the crowd of onlookers. This kind of humiliation, even if you die, you won't be able to wash it clean. Even if you die, your face, your dignity in front of your disciples, your image in front of your fellow Taoists, will forever be a laughingstock, right? Then, in this kind of situation, will you die? Or will you suffer this kind of humiliation? A kind of indescribable shudder involuntarily emerged from their hearts. All the cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Outside the Heavenly Thunder Palace's Temple of Life and Death, Zhen Heyu's face carried an indescribable expression as he looked at Qian Fengju and Qian Pingming of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. These two golden core cultivators of the Heavenly Thunder Palace had ugly expressions. Qian Yuhe's skin was exposed. Although it was Xiaohua who slapped Qian Yuhe's face, this slap also hit the Heavenly Thunder Palace's face. It was even worse than killing Qian Yuhe. In their hearts, the two really hoped that Xiaohua would happily kill Qian Yuhe instead of humiliating him like this. However, they didn't seem to have anything to say. After all, in the whole fight, Xiaohua's performance was very normal. Although Xiaohua didn't bring out the fire carpet at the beginning, that was because Xiaohua was only a middle foundation establishment cultivator. He was afraid that his magic power wouldn't be able to defeat the late foundation establishment Qian Yuhe, so he chose to use the common fireball talisman. Of course, Xiaohua's fireball talisman was really powerful, especially the fireball that could make a late foundation establishment cultivator tumble. This somewhat exceeded the two's expectations. However, the two didn't discover anything unusual about this fireball through their divine senses. As for Xiaohua using the wolf-tooth club to defeat Qian Yuhe's magic treasure, the wind-condensing claw, that was even more normal. Xiaohua's divine power had already been revealed during the Feather Immortal Assembly. What made the two most embarrassed and speechless was that Xiaohua used the fire carpet and the fireball talisman to burn Qian Yuhe's Taoist robe. After all, Xiaohua was a middle foundation establishment cultivator. It was somewhat difficult for him to destroy the protective magic treasure of the late foundation establishment Qian Yuhe, so he could only wear it down a little bit. During this process, the Taoist robe was inevitably burned. Of course, normally when the Taoist robe was burned, the protective magic treasure would also be destroyed. Qian Yuhe would either die or counterattack, so his skin wouldn't be exposed. However, it was still that sentence. Who told Xiaohua's magic power to be insufficient? Being able to burn the Taoist robe was already not bad. If the protective magic treasure was also burned, then Xiaohua could only be given more time. And during this time, Qian Yuhe's privacy would be exposed at a glance. Of course, the two were also somewhat baffled. Why didn't Qian Yuhe struggle or counterattack during the process of his Taoist robe being burned? However, they also wouldn't ask because Xiaohua already planned to attribute the power of imprisonment to the magic treasure, the fire carpet. Our magic treasure is formidable and can imprison a cultivator with a higher realm than us. What's so strange about this? As for Xiaohua's wind evasion, the Imperial Thunder Sect's forte was the lightning evasion. If any disciple could comprehend it by analogy and obtain another opportunity, who could say anything? Even in the 8 great thunder palaces, it wasn't as if there weren't any disciples who understood the wind evasion. Chapter 3047. In short, Xiaohua's difficult victory, and the humiliation Qian Yuhe suffered during this difficult process left both of them speechless. They wouldn't blame Xiaohua for hitting Qian Yuhe's fat buttocks instead of killing him. Qian Fengju's face darkened. He looked at Qian Pingming and asked loudly, "Junior brother Qian, you're Qian Yuhe's witness. Do you have any objections?" I think. Qian Pingming thought for a while and said, "Xiaohua is only a disciple in the middle stage of foundation establishment, and he had just entered foundation establishment when he entered the Taoist sword battle. That is to say, Xiaohua entered the middle stage of foundation establishment in a dozen years, which is a rare disciple in our thunder-controlling sect. However, he just entered the middle stage of foundation establishment, and his spiritual power is comparable to a disciple in the late stage of foundation establishment. I think it's a bit strange." "Junior brother Zhen, what do you think?" Qian Fengju asked Zhen Heyu. Zhen Heyu raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile, I don't think it's strange. At the very beginning, Xiaohua used a yellow talisman to face the enemy, while Qian Yuhe used a transcendent artifact from the very beginning, congealing the so-called Yuanying hand. Xiaohua avoided the sharp edge of the attack and in the end he suppressed the enemy. His transcendence energy might not be comparable to Qian Yuhe's, but it's normal for him to use it appropriately and appropriately. Especially Xiaohua's magic weapon. Qian Yuhe's magic weapon can form the nascent soul hand, and Xiaohua's fire blanket can confine the spiritual power of a disciple in the late stage of foundation establishment. How about this? If junior brother Qian thinks it's inappropriate, don't let Xiaohua and Qian Yuhe come out. Let them fight to the death. Junior brother Zhen, Qian Fengju glanced at Zhen Heyu with displeasure and coughed. Our thunder-controlling sect lost many disciples in the Taoist sword battle. Now we don't know if the tens of thousands of disciples in Sky Patrol City are dead or alive. Now, every disciple of our thunder-controlling sect is extremely precious. How can we lose one just like that? It's rare for Xiaohua to stop while he's ahead. Since the outcome has been decided, why must there be a fight to the death? The thunder field doesn't restrict life and death, but it doesn't have to be a fight to the death. As I know, Senior Martial Brother Qian is in charge of the Diligent Thunder Hall. It is precisely because you understand the essence of the competitive thunder plane. I am enlightened. Zhen Heyu hurriedly bowed and said with a smile, since Xiaohua has already won, it's easy for I to act as a witness. I'll listen to Senior Martial Brother's instructions. Good, since the two notaries have no objections, I declare Xiaohua the winner. Qian Fengju said. Zhen Heyu and Qian Pingming looked at each other and nodded. Xiaohua, who was in the thunder arena, was already muttering in his heart. He remembered that when he defeated Yan Xiefeng for the first time on the thunder arena, his view of life and death was quickly opened. Could it be this time? Do we really have to fight to the death? Xiaohua coldly thought as he stared at the sand-covered illusion. Fortunately, a moment later, a red and blue brilliance flashed, and a door to the Temple of Life and Death opened. Xiaohua turned his head and looked into the distance. He was too lazy to release his divine perception. Who cared about Qian Yuhe's life and death? He stepped into the red brilliance with a lift of his foot. Immediately, the red and blue brilliance of the Temple of Life and Death flourished, abruptly filling the entire heaven and earth. The entire sand-covered illusion collapsed with a rumbling sound, and everything disappeared in the red and blue light. Just like last time, Xiaohua's eyes lit up, and his figure appeared in front of the triangular Temple of Life and Death. Qian Fengju and Zhen Heyu met him, and that Qian Pingming had already disappeared. Xiaohua looked around. Not only had Qian Pingming disappeared, even the dozen or so Foundation Establishment cultivators who came with Qian Yuhe had also disappeared. Disciple greets the two hall masters. Xiaohua bowed and thanked them. Many thanks to the two seniors for their notaries. And Qian Fengju nodded, seemingly encouraging him. Xiaohua, I'm very gratified that you were able to hold back at the crucial moment and not take Qian Yuhe's life as I thought. Hall Master Zhen and I will report everything that happened today to the Great Thunder Hall. Xiaohua's face was filled with panic as he said in astonishment, Junior's matter actually alarmed the Great Thunder Hall. I really deserve to die. I ask the two hall masters to report this to the Great Thunder Hall and not take this matter as Junior's fault. Right? Does Hall Master Darren feel that Junior was wrong? Qian Fengju didn't like Xiaohua's eccentricity and said indifferently, is it your merit or your fault? Both were judged by the Great Thunder Hall. I only judge the outcome of the Thunder Arena. Oh, that's good. Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief and said to himself, since it's like this, Junior will choose another challenge from the Jade Slips tonight. It's just that. Martial Uncle Zhen, I'll have to trouble you to come to the Thunder Arena again tomorrow. No matter, Zhen Heyu said with a smile. Which Thunder Hall's challenge letter you choose, just have the Gen Thunder Hall disciple inform me. I also want to see more of this extremely interesting life and death battle. Yes, Xiaohua bowed and the disciple understood. I'll have the disciple inform Martial Uncle tonight. We'll return to the Great Thunder Hall to report to the Hall Master. Xiaohua, you should also go back and rest. Thousands of disciples' Taoist robes will be stripped by you, so you should properly conserve your energy. Zhen Heyu said to Xiaohua with a smile, then raised his hand to signal Qian Fengju to leave the Temple of Life and Death together. And Qian Fengju nodded. After taking 2 steps, he seemed to have thought of something and turned his head, saying, Are there any disciples from the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Mythical Thunder Hall, Sun Thunder Hall, or Converging Thunder Hall in the challenge Jade Slips? Disciple doesn't know, Disciple just randomly picked whoever it is. Xiaohua said with a smile, Disciple's cultivation is like this, and Disciple's physique is also of the fire attribute, so I can only use these methods. Burning the Taoist robes is also something that can't be helped. Hearing this, Qian Fengju didn't ask anymore and quickly walked away. He. As soon as the two Jindan left, Cui Hongshan came over first and gave a thumbs up with his right hand, saying with a smile, Second senior brother, you're really good. Xiaohua shrugged innocently, saying, Junior brother Cui, I only have these few methods. The first time I went to the Thunder Arena to duel with an aura refining disciple, and this second time with a foundation building disciple is still the same. I also don't have any other choice. However, Junior brother Cui, when you pick the jade slip of a challenger tonight, my myriad Thunder Valley should give them a friendly reminder, telling them to wear more Taoist robes. Yes, Junior brother understands. Junior brother will definitely give them a special reminder. Cui Hongshan's voice was very loud and he answered very excitedly. On the side, Zhen Qing and Zhua Minghui smiled bitterly when they heard this. They knew that this kind of method would offend people even more than killing them, but what better method was there? Xiaohua returned to Myriad Thunder Valley from the Heavenly Thunder Palace under the escort of everyone. Along the way, several people were chatting and laughing, but the 8 great thunder palaces were once again boiling. This boiling was even more intense than last night's boiling. There were many people who were paying attention to this life or death duel. Of course, there weren't many cultivators who were able to witness it with their own eyes. However, before Xiaohua returned to Myriad Thunder Valley, the result of this life or death duel, Qian Yuha's embarrassing state of defeat, and even this late-stage foundation-building cultivator's jade white skin had already spread throughout the entire Imperial Thunder sect. Some people had even begun to forget about the great Dao sword battle that was far away from them, and placed their attention on this duel, as well as the duels that would be held every day in the future. When Xiaohua and the others returned to Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiang Zhili and the others were already waiting outside the valley. Obviously, they had already received the news and each of them was glowing with excitement. They were even more excited than if they had eaten spiritual pills. Adoptive father. Xiang Zhili flew over from afar and shouted, Boy, I thought you would definitely kill that guy, but I didn't expect you to be so soft-hearted and merciful. Moreover, it was just that guy's butt. If it was a boy, it would be strange if his butt wasn't swollen. Leah. Xiang Yang looked at the Heavenly Thunder Palace disciples beside him and fiercely berated Xiang Zhili. Is there anyone who speaks like that? Father, they forced my Myriad Thunder Valley and they challenged adoptive father. What's wrong with this boy saying these things? Xiang Zhili smiled and said, Boy, this is still considered light. You don't know how many laughingstocks are circulating in Heavenly Thunder Palace right now. You shut up. Xiang Yang berated. If you have the ability, you can also go. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, Yan Qinglian hurriedly interrupted. Husband, what are you saying? Xiang Yang also came to his senses. How could he hope for his son to go to the Thunder Plains? On the side, Zhua Minghui was both happy and sighing. She was happy because based on Xiaohua's bravery today, not to mention a challenge from 2000 Foundation Establishment disciples, even if it was a challenge from 2000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples, Xiaohua would definitely be able to handle it. In other words, in the future Myriad Thunder Valley would definitely not be looked down upon and bullied by others. Otherwise, if Xiaohua said, go to the Thunder Plains, who would dare to go? However, he was worried because Xiaohua's actions could be considered to have offended all 7 Heavenly Thunder Palaces. Myriad Thunder Valley's situation. Who knew what it would be like? Dui Qiming, who had come to welcome them, seemed to have seen through Zhua Minghui's misgivings. He flew to Zhua Minghui's side and whispered, Master's wife, don't worry. Our Myriad Thunder Valley has second senior martial brother's bravery, so no one will dare to bully us again. Moreover, besides second senior martial brother and eldest senior martial brother, don't we still have Hong Xin and I? We will use second senior martial brother's fame to raise our Myriad Thunder Valley's reputation in the Thunder Palace and even the Imperial Thunder Sect. Using carrots and carrots is the true way of life. Alas, this old one is indeed old. Zhuo Minghui pondered for a moment and knew that Dui Qiming's words were true. She smiled bitterly and said, "Your master's temper is also not good. In the future, Myriad Thunder Valley will depend on you." "Don't worry, master's wife." Dui Qiming then pointed at Li and Wu Qing and said with a smile, "There's also Li Er and Wu Qing. They seem to be more powerful than second senior martial brother when he was young. Our Myriad Thunder Valley will definitely shake the Imperial Thunder Sect in the future." Alas, Wu Qing, when Wu Qing was mentioned, Zhuo Minghui saw that the others were all in high spirits. Only Wu Qing's expression remained indifferent. He was completely different from an ordinary youth. Zhuo Minghui sighed again. Right at this moment, Xiaohua suddenly shouted, "That's right, Liu. Tell the disciples of Thunder Palace that they don't have to be on duty tonight." Wait. Xiang Zhili was just happy when he suddenly froze. Chapter 3048. He just do as foster father says. Xiaohua chuckled and continued to instruct. "In addition, you will guard this outer valley at night. From now on, the challenge jade slips on the jade table will be worth 100 top-grade spirit stones. Remember, this is the only one, no bargaining." Boy understands, boy understands. Xiang Zhili laughed but then asked, "Isn't 100 spirit stones too little? It's too easy for them. How about 1,000 top-grade spirit stones?" "No need for so much, let's go slowly." Xiaohua chuckled again. "Moreover, no one will be desperate enough to do anything." "Understood." Xiang Zhili somersaulted in the air, extremely excited. "Shen Quan." Xiaohua instructed again. "You wait outside Martial Uncle's cave, and bring all the magic tools and cultivation methods that you are good at." At this point, Xiaohua scratched his head, turned around and asked, "Eldest senior brother, junior brother Cui, you two don't have any objections, right?" No, we don't have any objections, none at all." Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan came to their senses and hurriedly replied. "Good." Xiaohua stretched and said in a long voice, "I'm bored, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if there are any shameless people who want me to strip them." "Yes, disciple, thanks Martial Uncle." Zhen Quan and the others also came to their senses at this time and hurriedly bowed. The eyes of the dozens of disciples were filled with excitement. Soon after, Xiaohua returned to the cave. Zhen Quan and the others were waiting outside the cave. One by one they went in. Xiaohua checked their cultivations and asked them about their cultivation in detail. Some of them were bestowed with secret techniques, some were bestowed with magic treasures, and so on. Of course, for these disciples, Xiaohua would not teach them the dragon transformation art, god traction art, and other secret techniques. But these pointers had already benefited these disciples greatly. Seeing them come out of the cave one by one and immediately fly away to find a place to cultivate, it was clear how much they had benefited. More than a dozen disciples, each one was checked, each one was taught according to their aptitude. For Xiaohua, this was definitely the first time, and the time spent was not short. However, Xiang Zhili didn't come over to report during this period of time. Xiaohua naturally understood that his plan of killing the chicken to scare the monkey had succeeded, so he simply ignored the matter of the bet. He had originally planned to slowly guide these disciples in their cultivation, but now he might as well guide them all at once. After waiting for the last disciple, Fan Yumming, to leave the cave mansion respectfully with a magic weapon, Xiaohua got up from the jade bed and stretched his body. Looking at the dazzling array of cave mansions, he sighed and said, "Alas, that bastard Qian Diheng. I wonder how he is doing in the Sky Patrol City." His cultivation was only at the foundation establishment stage. Even if he was captured, nothing would happen to him. Furthermore, the sword cultivator had only killed Sage Shui and not Sage Quangtian. He had already seen through their intentions. As long as the sword cultivators were not forced to a dead end, their lives would be safe. "Brother, it's not that this Xiao doesn't want to save you. This Xiao really doesn't have the ability to do so. I hope you can live well. This Xiao still needs you to sell his rejuvenation pills." Immediately, Xiaohua's divine sense swept out of the cave mansion. He smiled and said to himself, "Well, the matter of the bet is over. This Xiao can go into seclusion." With that, Xiaohua walked out of the cave mansion. Xiang Zhili was standing respectfully outside the cave mansion. When he saw Xiaohua, his face immediately showed admiration. He bowed and said, "Godfather, this boy admires you to death." How did you know that these cultivators would definitely come to my myriad Thunder Valley? How did you know that these cultivators would definitely take out 100 top-grade spirit stones to exchange for the challenge jade slips? What's so difficult about that? Xiaohua curled his lips. The humiliation of having your Taoist robe stripped off or 100 top-grade spirit stones, which would you choose? Besides, no one knew who had issued those challenge jade slips. Even if they came to take the jade slips, I'm afraid it's not them. And, the first to come will definitely be female cultivators. Hee hee. Xiang Zhili clapped his hands and said, Godfather has guessed it. At first there were only a few fourth-layer aura refining female disciples, but when they heard that it was 100 top-grade spirit stones, they all turned back. In less than an hour the aura refining disciples came one by one. Each of them took out spirit stones and transmitted their voice to the boy. One hand exchanged spirit stones and the other hand exchanged jade slips. Just thinking about that kind of tacit cooperation makes the boy happy. In fact, the most difficult thing is the number of spirit stones. Xiaohua said indifferently, without us, we wouldn't be willing, but with them, this 100 is the most appropriate. Moreover, Lier, you have to be careful in the future. Although you have something on these 1,800 foundation building masters and they will be afraid of you in the future, if there's a chance they'll also harm you. Godfather's way of doing things has its advantages and disadvantages. Consider it a tempering for you. Don't blame Godfather. Xiang Zhili's heart trembled. He was only thinking about the hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit stones and neglected a more important matter. However, after thinking about it, in this myriad Thunder Valley besides Xiaohua, he was the only one who could bear this heavy responsibility. He bowed and said, Boy understands Godfather's painstaking efforts. Boy knows how to deal with it. Good. Xiaohua nodded. To become a Grand Master in the lightning-controlling sect or Xiaoyu continent, cultivation is one thing, but dealing with people and scheming are even more important. Godfather isn't good at scheming and only knows how to cultivate. I'm afraid he won't be able to achieve anything great. The matter of myriad Thunder Valley depends on your martial Uncle Cui and you guys. Godfather is too modest. Just looking at today's challenge jade slips. Boy's thinking is far worse than Godfather's. Xiang Zhili said with a smile. These are all minor details. They don't count for anything. Xiaohua waved his hand. Godfather is just experienced a lot. He knows these things, that's all. Godfather knows, so naturally he can see through everything. Xiang Zhili said with a smile. You don't understand. Xiaohua shook his head. This is nature. Some people like it, but although Godfather understands, Godfather isn't willing to do it. Godfather disdains to do it. With that, Xiaohua raised his head and looked at the landscape of myriad Thunder Valley. Even if Godfather is now the head of the lightning-controlling sect, Godfather won't be willing. Godfather just wants to cultivate quietly. Godfather, you're the one who has no desires. Xiang Zhili said and handed over the storage bag he had been carrying. Here are 150,000 top-grade spirit stones. Godfather, keep them well. Tisk tsk. 150,000 top-grade spirit stones. Xiaohua glanced at the storage bag and didn't take it. Isn't it too easy to earn these spirit stones? If I had known, I would have delayed for a few more days. That's not right. 1,800 challenge jade slips, each of which costs 100 top-grade spirit stones. How come there are only 150,000 top-grade spirit stones? Xiang Zhili stuck out his tongue and said, Boy's friends from Zhenlei Palace came over. In addition, some female disciples from Lightning Palace looked really pitiful, so the boy acted on his own initiative. Haha, that's how it should be, that's how it should be. Xiaohua clapped and laughed. He waved his hand and said, Divide these spirit stones into 2 halves. Give 1 half to your father and the other half to your martial Uncle Cui. Godfather, you should also leave some for yourself. Xiang Zhili wasn't surprised and said with a smile, Godfather is about to recruit disciples himself. You don't care about spirit stones, but your disciples also need them. Who said Godfather doesn't care about spirit stones? Xiaohua glared at Xiang Zhili and said, Godfather is giving you spirit stones now. You're just helping him look after them. When Godfather needs them, he can ask you for them at any time. Boy knows. Xiang Zhili knew that Xiaohua was just joking. Xiaohua had brought back countless spirit stones, pills and magic treasures during the Dao Sword War. Could be said that everything in the Myriad Thunder Valley belonged to Xiaohua. These hundreds of thousands of spirit stones were nothing. However, just as Xiang Zhili was about to put the storage pouch back into his bosom, an indifferent voice was heard. Second senior brother, there's an order from Great Thunder Hall. Mother ordered me to call you back. Xiaohua raised his head and looked over. It was Wu Qing with an indifferent expression. What order? Xiaohua stepped into the air and asked casually. Wu Qing shook his head. Little brother doesn't know. The person who sent the order was dressed in a camouflage robe. He only said that there was an order from Great Thunder Hall, and that he had to wait until second senior brother went over before reading it out. Xiaohua was greatly surprised, asking, Did you check the person's token? It couldn't be someone else impersonating him, right? No. Wu Qing said concisely. That person is holding Great Thunder Hall's token. Alright, this is strange. The person who sent the order is actually so mysterious. Xiaohua was bewildered, arriving at the Immortal's Cave first. Sure enough, at the head of the Immortal's Cave, there was a cultivator dressed in a camouflage robe. Xiaohua's divine sense couldn't see through him. Zhuo Minghui, Xiang Yang and the others accompanied him at the side. Disciple Xiaohua greets Martial Uncle Messenger. Xiaohua knew that the other party was definitely a Jin Dan disciple, so he hurriedly bowed in greeting. And Xiaohua, that cultivator, stood up, stretching out his hand and taking out a silk cloth from his bosom, saying loudly, This old man has come to pass on Great Thunder Hall's order. Disciple obeys. Xiaohua lowered his head and replied. Shocking Thunder Hall's disciple Xiaohua was arrogant due to his meritorious service, refusing to accept Great Thunder Hall's order of punishment. When returning to Myriad Thunder Valley, regardless of his status as a Foundation Establishment cultivator, he injured an aura-refining disciple. Furthermore, in spite of the current life and death crisis of our Imperial Thunder sect, he rashly provoked a fight, challenging the disciples of the 8 Great Thunder Palaces to a duel on the Thunder Plains. Although Xiaohua performed meritorious service in the Great Sword Battle, he doesn't know right from wrong and doesn't know righteousness. Xiaohua is specially punished to be on guard duty in Myriad Thunder Valley for 3 years, to go into seclusion and reflect on his mistakes. He is not allowed to take half a step out of Myriad Thunder Valley, and Xiaohua is also punished to be deprived of his spirit stone supply for 3 years. This is to serve as a warning to others. Xiaohua stared blankly, almost jumping up from the ground. This order of punishment was really inexplicable. It was already pretty good that he didn't kill these 1,800 cultivators, but not only did they not reward him, they even punished him. Wasn't this Great Thunder Hall really inverting black and white too much? Xiaohua, do you have any objections? That cultivator said coldly. However, his voice had passed through the camouflage robe, so not much emotion could be heard from it. Chapter 3049. I'm convinced. Xiang Yang hurriedly shouted, and without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, he ran to Xiaohua's side. Xiaohua, do you have any objections? That cultivator ignored Xiang Yang and continued to ask Xiaohua. Forget it. Xiaohua sighed and said very disheartenedly, Disciple doesn't have any objections. Disciple will accept any punishment from Great Thunder Hall. That's good. That cultivator nodded and suddenly asked, How much spirit stones do you get for a year? Xiaohua was startled. Looking at that cultivator, he lazily shook his head and said with a sneer, Whatever you want, it's my spirit stones that will be confiscated. What does that have to do with you? Martial uncle. Xiang Yang hurriedly said with a smile, Disciple knows, no need. That cultivator raised his hand and stopped Xiang Yang, saying, I only know that even with 3 years of spirit stones, I'm afraid it won't be 100 top-grade spirit stones, right? Hee. Xiaohua's mouth slightly curled. He glanced at this cultivator who pretended to be mysterious and didn't answer. Zhuo Minghui, you all go out first. I have something to say to Xiaohua. Then that cultivator handed the punishment order from Great Thunder Hall to Xiaohua and said to Zhuo Minghui and the others. Yes, disciple understands. Zhuo Minghui naturally didn't dare to be negligent. She gave Xiaohua a look indicating for him to not get angry, and then led Xiangyang and the others out of the cave. After Zhou Minghui and the others left, Xiaohua still asked indifferently, "Does senior have something to say to disciple alone?" "He," that cultivator said with a smile. "Naturally, I have to thank junior brother Xiao for saving my life." Saying that, that cultivator removed the camouflage cloth. It was Qian Qinghua with a smile on his face. "Oh, so it's senior brother Qinghua." Seeing that it was Qian Qinghua, Xiaohua didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. He hurriedly bowed and said, "I didn't know it was senior brother. I hope you can forgive me." It's fine, it's fine." Qian Qinghua hurriedly supported Xiaohua and said, "I came here to thank you for your kindness. Because I can't tell anyone about my return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. I'm wearing a camouflage robe. It's normal that you don't know." With that, Qian Qinghua bowed to show his respect. How could Xiaohua let him do that? He hurriedly supported her. However, Qian Qinghua didn't want to give up. He activated his magic power and light flashed around him. He wanted to kneel. Xiaohua laughed. "Senior brother Qinghua, if it was in the past it would have been fine if you had bowed. But now because of you this little brother has entered the Imperial Thunder Sect, and because of the Thunder-Devouring Pearl, this little brother has obtained the Sect Master's favor. Everything this little brother has now, including his cultivation, was bestowed upon me by senior brother. How could I possibly have you thank me?" Qian Qinghua activated his magic power, but saw that Xiaohua's magic power didn't fluctuate at all. He still blocked him. He couldn't help but sigh. "Junior brother Xiao. Back then you were only a 4th level qi refining loose cultivator, and I was already in the late stage of foundation building. Now you're already in the middle stage of foundation building and I'm still at the same cultivation level as a few decades ago. I don't even have the power to bow to you. Thinking about it, I'm ashamed. How many decades can a person have in life?" With that, Qian Qinghua stood up and sighed. "Senior brother Qinghua, you don't have to be so sad." Xiaohua smiled. "Your great contribution is unique in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Even this little brother and that mysterious Yuanying cultivator Wu Ming can't compare. Others may not know, but how could this little brother not know? For the sake of the Imperial Thunder Sect, you made such a sacrifice. How could the Sect Master treat you badly? How could the Imperial Thunder Sect treat you badly? Besides, senior brother Qinghua has been dormant for dozens of years. The bottleneck of foundation building has long disappeared. If you want to break through to the Golden Core, I'm afraid it'll only take you 10 years? 10 years later, this little brother will still have to call you senior." "Thanks for junior brother's auspicious words, I hope so." Qian Qinghua looked at the entrance of the cave and smiled bitterly. "Minghui is also a Golden Core now. That good-for-nothing helplessness is also in seclusion to break through to the Golden Core. I'm still in the foundation building. If it weren't for this bewilderment, I wouldn't have the face to come to the Myriad Thunder Valley." Hearing Qian Qinghua call his master good for nothing, Xiaohua's face changed slightly. But thinking about the relationship between helplessness and Zhou Minghui, his master could only helplessly listen to Qian Qinghua. Therefore Xiaohua just smiled and didn't say anything. "Actually, when this old man gave you the thunder-devouring bead, sealed the bright flower pill into your meridians, and even gave you this old man's token, it was all because I wanted you to complete the mission that day and accept me as your disciple." Qian Qinghua continued, "Unfortunately, you didn't take my token to enter the Imperial Thunder Sect. Instead you became helplessness's disciple. When I heard about it I was also very regretful. Today even if I want to thank you for your kindness, it's hard for me to do so." "Senior brother Qinghua," Xiaohua said seriously, "I've already made it clear. I entered the Imperial Thunder Sect because of the fate you gave me. That's the cause. Today I invited you back from the Kai family of Liang to return the favor you gave me back then. That's the effect. Now that we've settled the karma, senior brother, please don't say thanks again." "Haha, fine. Now that we're both disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect and fellow disciples, if I say too much we'll be estranged." Qian Qinghua laughed. "I won't mention this again." "Good, this is my senior brother Qinghua. You're as straightforward as when I first met you," Xiaohua said while clapping his hands. "However, junior brother Xiao," Qian Qinghua laughed again, "you still need to change some of your temper." Xiaohua understood that Qian Qinghua wanted to talk about the Great Thunder Palace, so he gave a non-committal reply. Then he asked, right, Senior Brother Qinghua, since you've already returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect, you're already safe. Why did you come to the Myriad Thunder Valley in camouflage? Don't tell me you're afraid of my master's wife bumping into you. If it's something I need to hide from others, I can't say a word. But to Junior Brother Shao, I can still reveal a thing or two. Qian Qinghua had to answer, that thunder-devouring bead is extremely important to the Imperial Thunder Sect, but I'm only a Foundation Establishment disciple. The Great Thunder Palace and the Great Thunder Palace are very confused about this, so the thunder-devouring bead hasn't been fully used yet. Ahem, that's all I have to say. Yes, I understand. Xiao Hua laughed. I'm afraid I have to take a good look at Senior Brother Qinghua's whereabouts during those days. Good. Qian Qinghua laughed. I can't say much about the thunder-devouring bead, but I still have to say about you. So before Xiao Hua could speak, he continued. In fact, when you returned to the Sky Thunder Peak that day, the Great Thunder Palace was already like an ant on a hot pan about the fall of the disciples of the Sky Patrol City. They didn't know how to attract the attention of the disciples. Perhaps no one thought of putting this big hat on your head, but you just happened to bump into it. Looking at Qian Qinghua's earnest advice, Xiao Hua was a little helpless and could only listen. He knew that some nascent soul masters of the Great Thunder Palace asked Qian Qinghua to say this. In the eyes of the palace masters, you've already gained a lot of merits. Even if you lose some, it's nothing. After all, your qualifications are still shallow. In fact, just like what you said just now, I lost dozens of years, but I gained more than dozens of years for the Imperial Thunder Sect. I think it's worth it, and even you think it's worth it. Then why don't you be a fool for the Imperial Thunder Sect? Alas, anyone can say this, but when it comes to me, how can it be as simple as it sounds? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Moreover, a group of nascent soul masters put this hat on my head without saying anything. Who would be happy? Since it's already been put on, why do you still want to stir up trouble? Qian Qinghua said again. The matter of you striking several thousand qi refining disciples made the Great Thunder Palace furious. They were just about to punish you, but you tactfully ran away. When those Foundation Establishment cultivators challenged you, it's fine if you ignored them. Who would have thought that you would come back and challenge 2,000 people at the same time? You say the Great Thunder Palace won't get angry again? Also, defeating Chen Yuha is one thing, but you even burned his Taoist robe. You say, the Heavenly Thunder Palace lost all face. Can the Palace Master of my Heavenly Thunder Palace leave it at that? In addition, you used the challenge Jade Slip to exchange for Spirit Stones. Only you could think of that. You say the Great Thunder Palace won't punish you and won't let you go into seclusion to reflect on your mistakes. Is that possible? To tell the truth, this punishment is already very light. If it were according to some people's suggestion, I'm afraid they'd have to abolish your cultivation. Xiao Hua sneered. Fortunately, Reverend Lei Meng and Fairy Yao Feng were against it. Fairy Xianhua also felt that this kind of punishment was too severe. Only then did she raise the board high up and lightly drop it. Isn't going into seclusion to reflect on your mistakes for 3 years exactly the time to comprehend what you've gained from the great battle of Dao and Sword over the past 10 years? Presumably, Junior Brother will definitely be able to step into the late stage of Foundation establishment 3 years later. Qian Qinghua said with a smile. Of course, Junior Brother Shao, this is also a solid warning from the Great Thunder Palace. In these 3 years, you really must not take half a step out of the Myriad Thunder Valley, and really must not make the slightest mistake again. Otherwise, even Reverend Lei Meng and Fairy Yao Feng won't be able to protect you anymore. And many thanks, Senior Brother Qinghua. Xiao Hua nodded. No matter how arrogant this disciple is, I'm still only a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. How can I overturn the heavens? Now that everything has been settled, I'm preparing to go into seclusion in the Myriad Thunder Valley to reflect on my mistakes. That's right. Qian Yuha's buttocks have been spanked, and the 100,000 spirit stones have also been collected. Who would dare to disturb your seclusion? Qian Qinghua laughed mischievously and said in a low voice, Tell me the truth, is Qian Yuha's buttocks white? Senior Brother, how would I know? Senior Brother Yuha is still wearing armor under his Taoist robe. Xiao Hua was stunned. When Qian Yuha was young, he always showed off his flirtatious side in front of this old man. Back then, damn it, if not for this guy, this old man would have already dual cultivated. Qian Qinghua laughed again. Junior brother Zhao's fight is to my liking. Chapter 30-50. What? Xiaohua was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Qian Qinghua and Qian Yuha had such a story. Then what's the story between Qian Qinghua and Zhuo Minghui? By the way, where's your master? I'm afraid he's in closed-door training. It's not easy for him to come out. It seems that I have to visit him more often when I'm free. Qian Qinghua looked up at the entrance of the abode. It's not easy for Minghui to manage the myriad Thunder Valley alone. Xiaohua's back was sweating. He hurriedly said, Senior brother Qian, do you have anything else? If not, I'm going to send you out and start closed-door training immediately. Don't. I haven't been to the myriad Thunder Valley for a long time. I have no choice. Qian Qinghua waved his hand and said, and junior sister Minghui. But before Qian Qinghua finished, Xiaohua whispered mysteriously, Senior brother Qian Qinghua, to tell you the truth, when you took out the corpse of Miss Kai from the coffin, I know you were forced to do it to protect yourself. But, do you know who Kai Zhuoxia's dual cultivation partner is? Who? Qian Qinghua was stunned. Then he waved his hand and said contemptuously, how could a female cultivator from a cultivation family have a relationship with someone of higher status? It's already good that I didn't destroy her corpse that day. Li Zongbao from the Utopia faction. Xiaohua said seriously, now he's already a cultivator at the early stage of the Gold Core realm. When I found you that day, he was right next to you. If I didn't try my best to block him, I'm afraid Senior brother Qian Qinghua would have been turned into minced meat. In my opinion, he didn't make things difficult for you that day because we were all in the first team of the conference hall. But I can't guarantee that in the future. So you'd better hurry up and cultivate. The sooner you enter the Gold Core realm, the sooner you can get rid of Li Zongbao. And in my opinion, before you enter the Gold Core realm, you can't leave the Imperial Thunder Sect. What? Qian Qinghua was dumbfounded. What you said, is it true? How could this be possible? One is a disciple of a famous cultivation sect. The other is an insignificant disciple of a cultivation family. It's true. How could I lie to you? Presumably, the Great Thunder Hall has already sent disciples to Liyang to investigate by now. You'll know once you ask. Li Zongbao only saw you condensing your Dan in the couple's coffin. Xiaohua also didn't know. Oh no. Qian Qinghua's expression changed. He didn't expect that throwing Kai Zhuoxia's corpse outside would cause such a huge harm. He knew who Li Zongbao was. His cultivation had stagnated and he was no match for Li Zongbao. Plus, Li Zongbao had the upper hand. If Li Zongbao came, he wouldn't be able to deal with him. Junior brother Xiao, I owe you another favor. Qian Qinghua said as he put on the camouflage hat and said in a low voice, I'm going back now. Oh, if you have time, tell Minghui that I'm still alive in this world. Alright, I understand. Xiaohua urged, Senior brother Qinghua, you should hurry back and enter seclusion. The earlier you enter the Gold Core realm, the earlier you can be free. Yes, that's right. Qian Qinghua said, clasped his hands and left in a hurry. Old bastard. After Qian Qinghua left, Xiaohua snorted, I'll let it go today. If you dare to come to my myriad Thunder Valley in the future, I'll beat you every time I see you. Xiang Zhili. Xiaohua shouted. Coming foster father, what's the matter? Xiang Zhili answered and flew in front of Zhuo Minghui and the others. Foster father is going to the myriad Thunder Valley for seclusion. Xiaohua ordered. However, if there's any middle or late Foundation Establishment realm cultivators, well, even disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, who dare to come to my myriad Thunder Valley, you can send a message to Foster Father. Although Foster Father can't step out of the myriad Thunder Valley, if he dares to come in, Foster Father will beat him until his teeth fall out and break his legs. Pull out his tendons and skin him. Ah? Yes. Xiang Zhili was confused, but seeing Xiaohua gnashing his teeth, he didn't dare to ask more. He just silently remembered it in his heart. What's the matter, Xiaohua? Zhuo Minghui and the others came in and asked in a low voice. It's nothing. Xiaohua looked at his master's wife and said with a smile, Disciple is afraid that when I'm in seclusion, some shameless cultivators will come to make trouble for us. So I told Li to pay more attention. Second senior brother. From today until the day you're in the myriad Thunder Valley, Who would dare to touch our myriad thunder valleys but, unless they don't want to live anymore? Cui Hongshan said with a smile. Heh. Xiaohua waved his hand and said with a smile, it's fine if some people know how to behave, but I'm afraid of people who don't know how to behave. Then Xiaohua bowed to Zhuo Minghui and said, disciple will go to the inner valley for seclusion. When master comes out of seclusion before the end of the year, please tell disciple in advance so that disciple can go and welcome master. Go. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. Just take it that you're on duty. My myriad thunder valley is just a general name, and I didn't say that you can't step out of any specific myriad thunder valley. If you have nothing to do you can go back to your cave. Okay, Xiaohua nodded. But disciple really should go into seclusion for a period of time. Master's wife and eldest senior brother, take care of yourselves. Second junior brother, do you think we're the same size as Yingying? Xiang Yang said with a big laugh. Obviously he had heard Xiang Zhili's explanation outside the cave just now. Knowing that the myriad Thunder Valley had received hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit stones at once, he was already bursting with joy. After a little preparation, Xiaohua came to the myriad Thunder Valley for the first time under Xiang Yang's lead. He waited for Xiang Yang to take out the jade tablet, open the restriction, and then gave Xiaohua the jade slip that recorded how to open and close the restriction. Only then did he lead Xiaohua into the restriction. As soon as he stepped into the restriction, he saw a huge cone-shaped mountain peak standing in the air. Hundreds of millions of lightning bolts and thunder were produced from the void and smashed on the mountain peak. The deep valley several miles in size was full of lightning and thunder, and water overflowed. Xiaohua couldn't help but show a shocked expression again. Junior brother Xiang Yang glanced at Xiaohua, who didn't have any reaction in the midst of the surging lightning, and said in a low voice, "This is the core of my myriad Thunder Valley, the real myriad Thunder Valley. Master is usually on duty here. Come with me." "Yes." Xiaohua nodded and followed Xiang Yang into the cave on the stone wall. Then he watched Xiang Yang activate the layers of restriction and take out a misty green copper mirror. When he breathed a mouthful of true essence into it, the entire mountain peak's movements were clear at a glance. Then Xiang Yang told him the rules of duty and finally said, "Junior brother only needs to meditate here and look at the copper mirror. If there's anything different about the lightning strikes on the mountain peak, immediately come out and inform Shocking Thunder Palace. Naturally, junior brother can't leave the myriad Thunder Valley. You only need to send me a message and I'll come over immediately. Actually, to tell you the truth, all these years I've been on duty here, I've never encountered any abnormalities. You only need to be careful of your own cultivation and don't be affected by the sound of thunder. If you feel that something is wrong, immediately leave this place." "Yes, junior brother understands." Xiaohua nodded and looked left and right. "Eldest senior brother has said everything that needs to be said. Junior brother will stay on duty for a few days and take a look. If there's anything I don't understand, I'll ask eldest senior brother." "All right," Xiang Yang nodded. "I'll go back first. After half a day I'll come back and see if there's anything wrong with you." "All right." Xiaohua knew that Xiang Yang was still worried and nodded. Sure enough, in the following 3 days Xiang Yang, Cui Hongshan, and Zhuo Minghui actually came more than 10 times. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time he felt warmth in his heart. After all, this was genuine concern, and was much better than huge Thunder Palace's distortion of right and wrong. In the end, under Xiaohua's persuasion, Xiang Yang and the others didn't come over. Xiaohua then sealed the Myriad Lightning Valley's restriction and roared loudly at the abyss of the Myriad Lightning Valley. He then activated the lightning escape technique and flew towards the mountain peak. Gotcha! The instant Xiaohua rushed into the abyss, a bolt of heavenly lightning appeared out of nowhere and struck Xiaohua's arm. A numb feeling immediately came from his arm, and a powerful force rushed into Xiaohua's arm, instantly destroying a large part of his physical body, and Xiaohua's figure also fell several qi. Xiaohua's body flashed with lightning, and his figure rushed forward together with the power of the heavenly lightning. The powerful lightning energy was used by him in the Imperial Lightning transformation, and the speed of the lightning escape increased by a lot. There were actually signs of breaking through to Imperial Lightning Gem. Moreover, the physical body that had just been destroyed by the heavenly lightning, Not only did it refine the power of heavenly lightning under the celestial body bestowment technique, it also repaired the physical body at an extremely fast speed. Wonderful! Xiaohua felt the changes in the imperial lightning transformation and laughed in his heart. This Myriad Thunder Valley is where the lightning evasion technique is located, right? Although this Xiao doesn't have a lightning evasion technique, this Xiao has the celestial body bestowment technique as well as the thunder roar lightning flash technique. Presumably, this imperial lightning transformation, which has been stagnant for a long time, can advance to imperial lightning gem while comprehending talismans in this Myriad Thunder Valley? Xiaohua's thoughts were indeed correct. In this abyss of lightning, he urged the lightning evasion technique to cultivate. In the beginning, every few qi there would be heavenly lightning striking his physical body. Without the protection of the phoenix celestial body, the power of this strike was very powerful. Although Xiaohua had the celestial body bestowment technique, after experiencing it several times, his physical body couldn't recover in time. Xiaohua had no choice but to escape into the lightning peak. Naturally, Xiaohua didn't stay idle while repairing his physical body. He took out the three-legged vermilion bird phoenix pattern furnace from the space, and let his primordial spirit practice the refining technique inside the space, while he warmed up the pill furnace, preparing to refine the rejuvenation pill. This rejuvenation pill could only be successfully refined inside the lightning peak under heavenly lightning. This item was much more precious than the ageless pill. In the future, the income of the Myriad Thunder Valley would most likely depend on it. Thinking about how many foundation establishment and gold core female cultivators there were on the Dawn Rain continent, Xiaohua's blood boiled. It was precisely because of this that Xiaohua didn't put the 150,000 top-grade spirit stones in his eyes. Chapter 3051. In the following days, Xiaohua refined the rejuvenation pill while cultivating the lightning evasion technique. After refining a cauldron of rejuvenation pills, Xiaohua refined another cauldron of spirit pills to mend scars. This kind of spirit pill was rare, but Xiaohua had collected a lot of recipes for it. Therefore, the refining method was not worth mentioning. As for the lightning evasion technique, after cultivating in the Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiaohua gradually gained some understanding of it. The abyss around the lightning peak was unfathomable. After flying at a certain depth, Xiaohua was gradually able to avoid the bombardment of the indescribable heavenly lightning. Since he could avoid it, his imperial thunder transformation technique's progress had stagnated. Xiaohua only pondered for a moment before descending several zhang. As expected, the heavenly lightning was even more concentrated and appeared without any pattern. This once again urged Xiaohua to recite the imperial thunder transformation technique's incantation. His figure quickly flew down and welcomed the heavenly lightning's baptism. It was unknown whether Xiaohua's bone tempering was effective, the lightning pill in his body was effective, or the lightning evasion technique was effective. Xiaohua's imperial thunder transformation technique advanced by leaps and bounds. Not long after he advanced to the imperial thunder transformation technique, when Xiaohua used the lightning evasion technique, his entire body really seemed to be controlling heavenly lightning as he flashed in the abyss. Suddenly he sped up, suddenly stopped, suddenly disappeared and suddenly reappeared. He had reached a critical juncture where the imperial thunder transformation technique was just around the corner. Thus, after Xiaohua refined a cauldron of spirit pills, he stored the cauldron into the space and concentrated on cultivating the lightning evasion technique. Once he broke through to the imperial thunder transformation technique, he would focus on refining the rejuvenation pill, or even the heaven flattening staff and the demonic toolhorn silver armor. Unfortunately, it was only a dozen or so days. Xiaohua had just disappeared from a part of the torrent of lightning and was closing his eyes to comprehend the changes in his body and the surrounding lightning currents. Just as he was about to break free from the torrent of lightning, Xiaohua suddenly saw a clear purple color in front of him. It was as if his entire body had merged into a purple space. In this space, every trace of purple was in the shape of a bolt of lightning, and this space seemed to be endless. Xiaohua was shocked. Before he could think, a rumbling sound as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was collapsing came from all around him. Every single strand of purple turned into a bolt of purple heavenly lightning that flashed across the sky like a dragon. It was as if all the heavenly lightning in the world had gathered here and was about to strike Xiaohua. Immediately, Xiaohua could no longer hear anything. He didn't know if it was his mind or his eyes, but he was completely immersed in the torrential lightning. Not only that, when the entire world was silent, an unparalleled power was born from every single bolt of purple heavenly lightning and pounced on Xiaohua from all directions. A kind of absolute fear. It was the same fear Xiaohua felt when Hutu great god lit the soul-falling lamp in the Hutu village's ancestral shrine. A kind of powerlessness, a kind of uncertainty, a kind of vastness, a kind of helplessness and a kind of lifelessness uncontrollably filled Xiaohua's mind. Not to mention that in the myriad Thunder Valley, Xiaohua, who was in seclusion to reflect on his mistakes, had unexpectedly fallen into an inexplicable realm while practicing the lightning evasion technique. In the Great Thunder Palace, Fairy Xianhua looked at Qian Qinghua with a face full of anger and coldly said, "Qinghua, the disciples who went to Rain Town to investigate have already returned. You said before. The location where you obtained the thunder-devouring bead is still there and nothing has changed. Moreover, this old woman has already sent disciples to confirm everything you said. Seems everything is normal. But where is the source of your information? There isn't even the slightest bit of progress?" Qian Qinghua stood in front of the palace very aggrieved, bowing and saying, "Yes, Master Ancestor knows. This junior received a message from Thunder Palace's senior brother Zhen Xie near Small Hill Peak that day. So I hurriedly sent a message to the sect and rushed to Rain Town. This junior was extremely careful along the way. And apart from Xiaohua, who hadn't entered my Imperial Thunder sect at that time, this junior didn't see any other sect's disciples. However, this junior didn't see any trace of senior brother Zhen Xie. Even using our sect's secret technique, this junior couldn't find any trace of senior brother Zhen Xie. Therefore, this junior felt that this was a misunderstanding on this junior's part and wanted to turn back. But at this time, this junior sensed an obscure lightning fluctuation at the location where the thunder-devouring bead was hidden. Since this junior sensed it, naturally this junior couldn't return empty-handed. This junior hurriedly used our sect's lightning technique to retrieve the thunder-devouring bead. To tell you the truth, even if the thunder-devouring bead fell into this junior's storage bag, this junior didn't dare to believe it was real. However, before this junior could think more, that bastard from the Shanghua sect actually chased after this junior. He wanted to kill this junior without saying a word. By this time, how could this junior not know that the news about the thunder-devouring bead had been leaked? Since the news was leaked and the thunder-devouring bead was real, this junior felt that there was no problem with the thunder-devouring bead. Therefore, this junior fought and retreated at the same time, wanting to escape back to Sky Thunder Peak. Moreover, this junior also felt that since senior martial brother Zhen Xie sent a message, he must be nearby. If this junior met him, wouldn't this junior be fine? But who would have thought? This junior fled all the way until this junior was seriously injured, but this junior still didn't see senior brother Zhen Xie. This junior felt that this junior had no hope and was about to take the thunder-devouring bead and self-detonate it. At that time, Xiaohua, who was only at the qi refining stage, appeared. This junior saw that his flying technique was so powerful that even Foundation establishment cultivators couldn't catch up with him. Moreover, he was also a rogue cultivator and wouldn't attract attention. Thus, this junior took the risk and gave the thunder-devouring bead to Xiaohua. I also sealed the clear flower pill in his meridians. This sealing technique is unique to my Imperial Thunder sect and others can't undo it. Moreover, if there was a slight mistake while undoing the seal, the clear flower pill's efficacy would definitely explode. Afterwards, this junior's spiritual power was insufficient and I couldn't escape far away, so I found a secluded place in the Kai family of Liang to hide. Coincidentally, the eldest daughter of the Kai family, Kai Zhuixia, happened to be in a coffin. This junior moved her body out of the coffin and laid in it myself. Moreover, I performed a secret technique of my sect to conceal my vitality. At that time, this junior thought that if Xiaohua could bring the thunder-devouring bead back to the Imperial Thunder sect, this junior would have a way to survive. If Xiaohua couldn't bring the thunder-devouring bead back to the sect, this junior would pretend that I didn't meet Xiaohua and perish together with the thunder-devouring bead. Hearing Qian Qinghua's explanation, Fairy Xianhua's expression calmed down a bit. She then asked, "Then why didn't you mention Zhen Xie in the message you sent to the sect?" This junior thought that senior brother Zhen Xie had already gone there. Since he had sent a message, others must have known. Moreover, this junior couldn't confirm the authenticity of the message. Although the communication charm belonged to senior brother Zhenxie, his name wasn't mentioned in the message. Qian Qinghua felt even more wronged. Moreover, who knew that senior brother Zhenxie would mysteriously disappear in our sect? If this were to spread, someone must have found out that it was senior brother Zhenxie who leaked the message, so they ruthlessly tried to kill him. The communication charm you brought back has been confirmed to be Zhenxie's. Fairy Xianhua said indifferently. When he sent the communication charm, he should have been outside the Sky Thunder Peak. However, for some reason he abandoned such an important thing like the thunder-devouring bead and instead returned to the Sky Thunder Peak. Unfortunately, this matter can only be left unsettled with Zhenxie's death. Qian Qinghua said again. This junior thinks that since this thunder-devouring bead is real and this junior has disappeared for decades without any abnormalities, there shouldn't be any problems, right? What do you know? Fairy Xianhua sneered. This thunder-devouring bead is different from other magic treasures. It's related to the life and death of our Imperial Thunder Sect. Moreover, such a crucial item was strangely obtained by a Foundation establishment disciple like you. Although the process of Xiaohua being sent from Rain Town to the Imperial Thunder Sect was strange, he was a small rogue cultivator. No one would have thought that he had such a precious treasure, so it's understandable. However, if you obtained it, it's hard to say. Moreover, the origin of this thunder-devouring bead. In a situation where we can't be sure, even the sect master wouldn't dare to make a judgment. This disciple doesn't understand. Qian Qinghua shook his head. Even if the origin of the thunder-devouring bead is unknown, once it's in the sect master's hands, it belongs to our Imperial Thunder Sect. How can we let it fly? Of course you don't understand. Fairy Xianhua sneered. Our Imperial Thunder Sect's arrays rely on lightning energy. This thunder-devouring bead can replace the current thunder-vanishing bead and replace all of our arrays. Originally, the thunder-vanishing bead had gradually lost its effect due to the changes in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Now we have to rely on this thunder-devouring bead to get through this crisis. However, at such a critical moment, the thunder-devouring bead descended from the heavens. Who dares to say that this isn't the ulterior motive of others? If our Imperial Thunder Sect uses this thunder-devouring bead, wouldn't we be placing our sect in the hands of others? Once there's an unforeseen event, who would be able to resist the enemy? This junior understands. Qian Qinghua smiled. Currently our myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain and Imperial Thunder Ocean all have lightning streams and lightning water to protect our arrays, right? Fairy Xianhua nodded. Yes, it's because of this that the sect master temporarily replaced a portion of the arrays with the thunder-devouring bead. If there's anything wrong we can immediately react. Fairy Xianhua sighed. Of course this is also a temporary measure. Sooner or later the thunder-vanishing bead will be replaced by the thunder-devouring bead. This is also the reason why this old woman urged you to hurry up. This junior understands, but this is all that this junior can do. Qian Qinghua shook his head helplessly. Senior brother Zhenxie has fallen, and that jade slip was sent by him. The news about the thunder-devouring bead has been cut off. Buzz buzz. A slight buzzing sound rang in the Great Thunder Palace, and a faint ray of light appeared. It's a message from Shanghua sect. Fairy Xianhua was startled. She hurriedly stretched out her hand and was about to touch the light when Thunder Tablet Immortal hurriedly said, Qian Qinghua, get out of the way first. Yes, this junior understands. Qian Qinghua immediately came to his senses. Ignoring the rules, he hurriedly flew out of the Great Thunder Palace. Fairy Xianhua, however, blushed. Her hand had already touched the light. Swish. A mirror light flashed and Sun Yunzi's extremely tired face appeared in the irregular mirror. Chapter 3052. Senior Brother Sun Yunzi. Without waiting for Sun Yunzi to speak, Fairy Xianhua called out anxiously, How's the situation in Celestial City? How are the lives of the tens of thousands of Imperial Thunder Sect disciples? Why haven't they sent a message to us after so long? Sun Yunzi raised his head and glanced at Fairy Xianhua indifferently. He asked in a hoarse voice, Where's Qian Lazy? Still in seclusion? Sect Master hasn't come out yet. Fairy Xianhua's face reddened, but her heart tightened. Qian Lazy really knows how to hide. Sun Yunzi still looked exhausted. How was he a late-stage nascent soul cultivator? Senior brother Sun Yunzi, how's the situation in Celestial City? Fairy Xianhua asked helplessly. Sigh, our Dao sect has been defeated. Sun Yunzi sighed. Celestial City has fallen into the hands of sword cultivators. This time's Dao sword war has ended. The specific battle report will be sent to all sects as soon as possible. Other than Fairy Xianhua, who cried out in shock and disbelief, the entire enormous thunder hall was deathly silent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their faces filled with absolute confusion. Although the nascent soul cultivators of Great Thunder Hall had already received the news of Celestial City's fall, they only treated it as a piece of news. However, everyone only treated it as a piece of news. No one connected the fall of Sky Patrol City to the failure of the True Path sect. Dao sect's defeat seemed to be just an illusory legend. All the nascent soul cultivators of Great Thunder Hall thought that it wouldn't be long before Celestial City was seized by Dao sect's cultivators. What they had to consider was the safety of Imperial Thunder sect's disciples in the process of seizing Celestial City. Sun Yunzi's words were tantamount to a sudden clap of thunder, knocking out these nascent soul cultivators who had been immersed in heavenly thunder their entire lives. How could our Dao sect have been defeated? What about our Imperial Thunder sect's disciples? Fairy Xianhua hurriedly asked after recovering from her shock. Nothing is impossible in this world. Sun Yunzi said indifferently. Sword cultivators have taken control of Celestial City. In the future, our 3 cultivation kingdoms will definitely be in chaos. Cough cough, since my Dao sect has lost, then the disciples of your Imperial Lightning sect. Just as Sun Yunzi was about to continue speaking, a huge rumbling sound reverberated in everyone's ears. Before the impact of this reverberation could reach Colossal Thunder Palace, the irregular mirror surface Sun Yunzi was using to transmit his message shattered like real glass, turning into thumb-sized fragments that disappeared in midair. Sun Yunzi's words were naturally cut off. Immediately after, the entire Great Thunder Palace began to shake violently. These vibrations were extremely strange. Wherever the vibrations passed, all the restrictive barriers of the Colossal Thunder Palace would emit sizzling sounds of thunder flowers. Those thunder flowers were like fireworks in the middle of the night, bursting forth with endless colors. Those thunder flowers coiled around the entire inner walls of the Colossal Thunder Palace, crazily flowing about. A change had occurred in the Great Thunder Hall, but none of the Yuanying elders in the hall paid any attention to it. That was because at the same time the tremors occurred, the Yuanying within the bodies of all the Yuanying cultivators gave birth to an indescribable excitement. Strands of purple brilliance emerged from the skin of the Yuanying. This brilliance flickered at the same speed as the lightning flowers in the Great Thunder Hall. This crazy nascent soul seemed to be beyond the control of a nascent soul cultivator. Merely a moment later, everything returned to normal. Not only did the lightning flowers in the Colossal Thunder Palace suddenly disappear, the lightning on the Yuanying also disappeared along with the disappearance of the lightning flowers at the same time. Only a feeling of extreme exhaustion emerged from the Yuanying of everyone, and an extremely strange feeling of calmness emerged from the hearts of the Yuanying cultivators. What is going on? Fairy Xianhua couldn't help but turn pale with fright. However, when her divine sense swept through the Colossal Thunder Palace, her originally pale face turned ashen. How is this possible? The restrictive barrier of the Colossal Thunder Palace has completely disappeared. Thunder-devouring bead. Thunder-devouring bead. Fairy Xianhua abruptly came to a realization. This situation seemed to have happened when Xiaohua brought the thunder-devouring bead to the Colossal Thunder Palace, and when Qian Lazy released the thunder-devouring bead in an extremely weak manner. That's not right. Reverend Lei Meng hastily cried out, it's the thunder-vanquishing bead. It caused the formation of our Imperial Thunder sect to lose its effectiveness. Fairy Yao Feng and the others also hurriedly shouted, perhaps, the myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain and Imperial Thunder Ocean all had some abnormalities, causing the lightning water to be lacking, causing the formation of our Imperial Thunder sect to lose its effectiveness. Palace guards, Fairy Xianhua shouted in panic. Quickly send out all the men. There is no need to check the sect's restrictive barrier. First, check all the restrictive barriers outside the Thunder Mo mountain range. Yes, all the palace guards outside the colossal Thunder Palace also sense the abnormality. How could they dare to be negligent? After a slight delay, they all flew out. Sage, how can these palace guards patrol the entire Thunder Mo mountain range? Thunder Meng Daoist sighed and said, Palace Masters, immediately send out all the Gold Core disciples of the various palaces to patrol the Sky Thunder Peak. Quickly report back. Yes, all the Palace Masters on duty hurriedly flew out, and after a brief discussion, they also scattered in all directions. Senior Sister Xianhua. Zhen Yunzi said in a low voice, if I'm not mistaken, a part of the sect protecting formation in the Thunder Mo mountain range has been damaged. The current plan is to hurry to the Thunder Devouring Bead. Prepare to replace the Thunder Vanquishing Bead with the Thunder Devouring Bead. Sai, perhaps this is the only way. Fairy Xianhua smiled bitterly. Just now I was scolding Qian Qinghua. Now I have no choice but to use the Thunder Devouring Bead in advance. Thunder Devouring Bead. Oh, Thunder Devouring Bead, you really put me in a difficult position. As she spoke, Fairy Xianhua glanced at the Palace Masters and said loudly, Sect Master is still in seclusion. With such a big change, I'm afraid he can't be called out from his seclusion. Junior brothers and sisters, please tell me what to do next for our Imperial Thunder Sect. Fairy Yaofeng, who usually didn't speak, opened her mouth again at this time. Senior Sister Xianhua, now that you've taken the place of Sect Master, your words are our thoughts. No matter what decision you make, we'll support you. Moreover, even if there's something wrong with the Thunder Devouring Bead, didn't Sect Master say it that day? It's true that the Thunder Devouring Bead is extremely powerful and is the nemesis of all the formations in our Imperial Thunder Sect. However, when it comes to our Imperial Thunder Sect, it's our Thunder Devouring Bead. What's there to be afraid of? That's right. Thunder Meng Immortal nodded. The most important thing now is to repair the formation in the Thunder Mo mountain range. Don't let those with evil intentions take advantage of the situation. If they do something in the Thunder Mo mountain range that we don't know about, it'll be a big problem. That's right. I also have the same idea. Fairy Xianhua nodded. Even if Sect Master is here, the first thing he should deal with is this. Junior Brother Lei Meng, Junior Sister Yaofeng, and Junior Brother Lei Ting. The three of you prepare to follow me to the Thunder Pool. With the combined strength of the four of us, we should be able to activate the Thunder Devouring Bead. When the news of the Thunder Mo mountain range is sent back, we'll replace it with the Thunder Devouring Bead and activate the formation. Yes, Thunder Meng Immortal, Fairy Yaofeng, and Lei Tingzi hurriedly stood up and replied in unison. Zhen Yunzi glanced at Duijia and said, Disciple and Duijia can't help with the Thunder Devouring Bead. How about this? The two of us will go to the Myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain and Imperial Thunder Ocean to see if there's any change there. At the same time, we'll also appease the disciples of the 8 great Thunder Palaces. Alright, thank you, Junior Martial Brother. Fairy Xianhua nodded and said, other than these few places where the Thunder Water Sect has appeared, we'll also check out the other forbidden and dangerous areas. Yes, we'll go right away. After saying that, Zhen Yunzi stood up and hurriedly flew out with Duijia. Fairy Xianhua and the others watched the two of them fly away and looked at the remaining 3 Palace Masters. She waved her hand as if she wanted to open the communication channel with Sun Yunzi again. Unfortunately, there was no response from her magic power. Clearly, the communication channel was also destroyed by the Imperial Thunder Sect. She couldn't help but sigh and said, Psych, fortune never comes in pairs. Misfortune never comes alone. The Dao sect has just been defeated and such a huge change has already occurred in our Imperial Thunder Sect. Just now, the Imperial Thunder Sect's Sun Yunzi didn't finish his words, but from what I heard, I'm afraid it's not good. Even if Junior Martial Brother Miyu and the others were not kidnapped to the Hung country, I'm afraid our Imperial Thunder Sect would have to spend a large amount of spirit stones and elixirs to redeem them. No matter which one it is, our Imperial Thunder Sect has suffered a great loss. Psych, it's good that they were defeated. The lives of Junior Martial Brother Miyu and Kuang Tian can be saved. Lei Tingzi, who didn't speak much like Fairy Yaofeng, also sighed, but there was a sense of luck in his tone. If our Dao sect won and the sword cultivators fought to the death, the two junior martial brothers would bear the brunt of the calamity. Yes, when the battle report comes back we'll take a look at it in detail. From what Sun Yunzi said, it's a bet. Lei Mengzhenren nodded and said, when the matter in the Thunder Mo mountain range is over, this old man will volunteer to go to Sky Patrol City. No matter what, we have to bring back the tens of thousands of disciples of our Imperial Thunder sect, right? Then we'll have to trouble junior martial brother Lei Meng. Fairy Xianhua looked at everyone helplessly and said, let's not talk about the battle in Sky Patrol City for now. The four of us need to discuss how to replace the thunder-devouring beads. Just as the four of them were discussing, news of the Thunder Mo mountain range came bit by bit. What shocked them was that in addition to a portion of the Imperial Thunder Sect's restriction formation being destroyed, 30% of the Imperial Thunder Sect's sect protective formation had been destroyed. If the thunder-devouring beads were used as replacements, then 60% of the Imperial Thunder Sect's formation would rely on the strange thunder-devouring beads. Even so, Fairy Xianhua and the others had no choice. They had no other choice but to use the new thunder-devouring beads. Chapter 3053. Xiaohua hurriedly opened his eyes and looked at his surroundings. When he used his divine sense to scan his surroundings, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This was because there was not a single bolt of lightning that had descended like rain earlier. Not a single thunderous roar could be heard. The lightning peak in front of him was just like an ordinary mountain quietly standing there. Even the abyss that had been cleansed by the lightning water was now only darkness, without a single strand of lightning. What is going on? Xiaohua scratched his head. This Xiao didn't do anything. Why did all the heavenly lightning in this place disappear? Is a myriad Thunder Valley without lightning still myriad Thunder Valley? Immediately after, Xiaohua didn't dare to believe it. He escaped into the lightning mountain and flew straight into the abyss. However, no matter where he went, there was no trace of lightning. It was as if myriad Thunder Valley had never had myriad Thunder Valley. Xiaohua was dumbfounded. He reached out to scratch the back of his head. At this moment his eyes suddenly lit up and he blurted out, "Damn it, it can't be." Instantly Xiaohua's mind sank into the space. Once his mind entered the space, Xiaohua's heart immediately turned cold. At this moment within the space, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Right beside the reverse light, a strange inkstone-shaped object was revolving around the reverse light. On the side of the inkstone-shaped object, there were two golden tadpole-like words. However, one of the words was complete while the other was only half of a word. The lightning in the space came from the surroundings of the inkstone and then fell on the inkstone. Looking at the inkstone, it seemed to only be half. It was in an irregular shape with four corners. What was special was that the edge was damaged and there were some jagged cracks. The other half of the word was broken from this crack. Looking at the head of this thing, there were three protrusions that looked like antennae. After the lightning water fell into the inkstone, some seeped out from the broken edges, forming thick lightning bolts that fell on the huge white bone in the space. Inside the white bone, little Lei, who didn't change at all, received the heavenly lightning bolts as if he was taking a bath. Looking at the surroundings of the inkstone, the heavenly lightning that appeared out of nowhere in the same manner as the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and the purple color of the inkstone, how could Xiaohua not know that this was what he had encountered in the 10,000 Thunder Valley? How could he not know that it was this item that caused the lightning to fall from the myriad Thunder Valley? Great Aunt, you can be anywhere in the Imperial Thunder Sect, but please don't be in this small space. Xiaohua almost wanted to cry. Although he understood that this item was extremely precious, how could he dare to take it? He hurriedly used his mind to cover the object and wanted to send it out of the space. But with a thought, Xiaohua was dumbfounded again. Although that object was not the same as reverse light and could be sensed by the mind, that object was incomparably heavy and could not be moved by the mind. Furthermore, that object surrounded reverse light and slowly rotated. Similarly, an extremely large amount of lightning water fell into reverse light. Xiaohua's mind could not disturb that object's rotation at all. "Madam, I beg you." Xiaohua tried over 1,000 times in succession, but that object was simply bigger than the lightning mountain in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. He could not move it at all, as if it was determined to settle down in Xiaohua's space. You've really made this young master suffer. What could Xiaohua do? His mind was extremely dispirited as he withdrew from the space. Just as his mind withdrew, Xiaohua felt a strong movement outside the restriction of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Needless to say, it was definitely Zhuo Minghui and the others who came to investigate. Xiaohua was extremely unwilling to open the restriction, but what could he do? Just before he opened the restriction, he tried one last time to take the inkstone out of the space, and then he had no choice but to fly in front of the restriction. Xiaohua opened the restriction, and all the disciples of the 10,000 Thunder Valley came face to face. Zhuo Minghui almost rushed in and similarly looked at the completely changed 10,000 Thunder Valley with extreme disbelief and said loudly, "Xiaohua, what did you do?" After Zhuo Minghui, Yan Qinglian, Tui Hongshan, Dui Qiming and the others also flew in. After scanning the surroundings with their divine senses, they also looked at Xiaohua in shock. Disciple, what could Xiaohua say? He could only stammer. Disciple didn't do anything. Just as Disciple was cultivating in seclusion, the 10,000 Thunder Valley suddenly became like this. Disciple was investigating when Master's wife came. Really? Zhuo Minghui stared at Xiaohua and asked, "Xiaohua, you must tell the truth." Really? Xiaohua also had unspeakable bitterness. Could he say that it was a problem with his space? "Xiang!" Zhuo Minghui habitually shouted as she turned around. However, when she saw that Xiang Yang's figure was not behind her, she was a bit puzzled. Where did Xiang Yang go? Yan Qinglian was also puzzled. Looking around, she said, "Xiang Yang was with Disciple just now. When the 10,000 Thunder Valley changed, we all flew to the inner valley together. Who knows how he suddenly disappeared? Don't worry about Xiang Yang for now." Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. "Hongshan, you're also on duty here. Take Qiming and your disciples and quickly search the depths of the Thunder Abyss. Qinglian, follow me to the top of the Thunder Peak." He definitely can't escape responsibility. At this moment, a powerful divine sense swept through the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and a shocked voice was also transmitted into everyone's ears. "Ah? Something actually happened in the 10,000 Thunder Valley." Everyone was shocked and hurriedly flew out of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, respectfully standing guard in midair. Not long after, Dui Jie flew over from afar, her face filled with anger. Seeing this, the faces of Zhuo Minghui and the others instantly changed. They had always been hoping for a fluke, wanting to find the reason for the disappearance of the 10,000 Thunder Valley's lightning before shocking Thunder Palace questioned them, hoping to make up for their mistakes. But they never would have thought that what should come would still come, and the one who came was actually the Palace Master of Lightning Palace. Although Lightning Palace was ranked last among the 8 great lightning palaces, with the Palace Master of Lightning Palace personally coming, anyone could realize the seriousness of the matter. While everyone was slightly stunned, Tui Hongshan suddenly urged his transcendence energy and flew in front of Dui Jie. With a flustered expression, he bowed and said, "Disciple of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, Tui Hongshan, greets Palace Master Dui." Just now, this junior was on duty in the 10,000 Thunder Valley and accidentally touched a restriction. This restriction was originally normal, and this junior had encountered it before, but I didn't know what happened today. Lightning flashed in the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and then it was completely annihilated. My 10,000 Thunder Valley's disciples noticed that something was wrong, and all of us came here to patrol. But after searching for so long, we still haven't found anything strange. If there is any punishment because of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, this junior will bear it. Can a foundation establishment brat like you bear the punishment of the 10,000 Thunder Valley? Dui Jie sneered, looked around and asked, "What about the 10,000 Thunder Valley's Wu? Disciple Zhuo Minghui greets Palace Master Dui." Zhuo Minghui hurried forward and said in a low voice, "Wu has been in seclusion for more than 10 years in order to break through to the Golden Core realm, and he hasn't come out yet." It's good that he's in seclusion." Dui Jie narrowed her eyes. "But even so, he can't escape the responsibility." Chapter 3054. Soon after, Dui Jia looked indifferently at Zhuo Minghui and Cui Hongshan and coldly said, "Leave, you were ordered to guard the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Now you have actually destroyed the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Although you have neglected your duties, it is still a heinous crime. I'm afraid that no one will be able to protect you. Let's go, follow this old one to Colossal Thunder Hall to receive punishment." Saying this, Dui Jia ignored everyone and turned to leave. Yes, when Cui Hongshan heard this, his expression unconsciously relaxed. He turned to look at Dui Qiming. Dui Qiming, Yan Qinglian, and the others actually didn't have the chance to greet Dui Jia. Seeing the look in Cui Hongshan's eyes, Dui Qiming's expression darkened. Perhaps Xiaohua did not know the consequences of destroying Myriad Thunder Valley, but Dui Qiming had heard everything clearly before Cui Hongshan's shift at Thunderclap Palace. Although Cui Hongshan's actions caused Dui Qiming's heart to ache greatly, she also understood Cui Hongshan's thoughts of protecting Xiaohua. Although she could confirm that the annihilation of the Myriad Thunder Valley had nothing to do with Xiaohua. Xiaohua was, after all, in charge of the Myriad Thunder Valley in seclusion. Xiaohua's responsibility could not be shirked. Not to mention that this responsibility was originally very heavy. Xiaohua had now been repeatedly punished by the Great Thunder Hall. He really could not make any more mistakes. Although Dui Qiming's heart was in pain, she still respected her husband's decision and nodded slightly at Cui Hongshan's gaze. Wait. Just as Cui Hongshan's gaze swept past Xiaohua and secretly gave him a meaningful glance, Xiaohua couldn't take it anymore and raised his voice. "Senior brother Xiao," Cui Hongshan said anxiously, "I'll be right back. Nothing will happen." Junior brother Cui, even if there's nothing wrong, this matter happened because of me. I still have this bit of responsibility. How can I let you take the blame? I appreciate your kind intentions, but let me go to the enormous Thunder Hall to bear the responsibility for this crime. Xiaohua stepped out from the crowd and indifferently said, "Senior brother Xiao." Cui Hongshan stomped his feet in midair. He had managed to deceive Dui Jia with great difficulty, and as long as he arrived at the Great Thunder Hall, he would already have a certain degree of confidence. Who would still be able to tell? Now that Xiaohua had stood out, although Dui Jia did not understand the duty of 10,000 Thunder Valley very well, she could tell at a glance. Yes. Xiaohua has been punished by my Colossal Thunder Hall to be in seclusion on duty in Myriad Thunder Valley. Cui Hongshan, how could you possibly be on duty again? Dui Jia's face turned cold as she said angrily, "How dare you deceive this queen? How should he be punished?" Dui Qiming hastily stepped forward and bowed. "Your Excellency Asgard Master, Brother Cui and Xiaohua have a deep brotherly relationship. Asgard Master, please quell your anger." Sigh, Dui Jia looked at Dui Qiming, then at Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan. A complicated expression flashed across her eyes. She waved her hand and said, "Qiming, you are a disciple of my Dui Thunder Palace. You made great contributions during the Dao Sword War. You are truly a role model for my Dui Thunder Palace. Moreover, the relationship between Cui Hongshan and Xiaohua, this old woman is also gratified. However, a mistake was a mistake and others could not bear it. This consort doesn't know how your 10,000 Thunder Valley guards, nor can this consort determine who made this mistake. Therefore, this consort does not intend to pursue Cui Hongshan's crime of deceit. The three of you follow this old woman, and wait until we arrive at the Great Thunder Hall to listen to the other teacher's decision." After speaking, Dui Jia flew away without looking back. As she flew, she even sent out a Thunder Note talisman. It was very obvious that the responsibility of 10,000 Thunder Valley's destruction was too great. Cui Hongshan looked at Xiaohua aside and did not speak again. "Let's go." Zhuo Minghui's heart also ached. She looked at Dui Qiming, then looked at Cui Yingying, who was being held by Zhang Wan behind Dui Qiming. She had already made a decision in her heart, and she waved her hand to follow behind Dui Jia. Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan accompanied Zhuo Minghui. "Junior brother Cui." After flying for a while, Xiaohua transmitted in a low voice, 10,000 Thunder Valleys, 10,000 Thunder Valleys, 10,000 Thunder Valley disappeared. What serious consequences could there be? From Palace Master Dui's meaning, it seems very serious? It's nothing much. Cui Hongshan said with a forced smile. If it was before 10,000 Thunder Valley was the vital point of my Imperial Thunder sect. The disappearance of 10,000 Thunder Valley would definitely cause a huge commotion. But now 10,000 Thunder Valley's importance has already gradually faded. Otherwise, Master, a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, would not have been on guard that year and would not have been so disliked. If we talk about punishment, right? It's just a matter of raising it up high and gently dropping it down. A fine of spirit stones, a punishment of being confined to seclusion, and that's it. If it's too serious, this little brother also does not dare to shoulder it for you. Since that's the case, you also don't need to shoulder it for this elder brother. Xiao Hua seemed to understand Cui Hongshan's meaning, and let out a slight sigh of relief. The problem is that second senior brother has provoked quite a bit of Great Thunder Hall's anger during this period of time. If you commit this minor mistake again, it will make Great Thunder Hall very embarrassed. Cui Hongshan said with a bitter smile. Who knows, Great Thunder Hall might make a mountain out of a molehill and cause some huge waves. Xiao Hua smiled, waving his hand. It's fine. Everything will come to light after the Great Dao Sword battle ends. Nothing will happen to this elder brother. Sigh, all right. Cui Hongshan smiled bitterly again. Now that things had come to this, even if he wanted to shoulder the blame for Xiao Hua, it was also impossible. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua and Cui Hongshan still did not notice that Dui Jia, the palace master of Great Thunder Hall, had personally come to the Myriad Thunder Valley to investigate. Moreover, she had come alone. How could this matter be simple? When they arrived at the Thunder Immortal Peak, although there were disciples on duty around Great Thunder Hall, they were obviously fewer than usual. Moreover, the order was somewhat disorderly. When some disciples saw Dui Jia and the others flying back, they hurriedly went forward to pay their respects, and then hurriedly returned. Wait outside the hall. When they arrived at the entrance of Great Thunder Hall, Dui Jia indifferently instructed Zhuo Minghui and the others, and then she went in first. At this time there was no longer the chaos inside Great Thunder Hall. Most of the palace masters who had rushed out to investigate at the beginning of the anomaly had already returned. There were still a few palace masters sitting high on the prayer mats. Except for Zhen Yunzi, who had yet to return, the others all had a trace of anger on their faces as they looked at a cultivator kneeling in the hall. Dui Jia glanced at that cultivator, cupped her hands and said, reporting to Martial Ant Shenhua, this disciple has already found the location of the anomaly. Yes, we already know that an anomaly has occurred in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Fairy Shenhua said indifferently. Dui Jia was startled and looked at Zhen Yunzi's empty prayer mat. She had just passed on this matter to Zhen Yunzi and had yet to report it to Great Thunder Hall. Since Zhen Yunzi had yet to return, how could Great Thunder Hall know? Naturally, Dui Jia immediately understood that Zhen Yunzi must have already sent a message to Great Thunder Hall. However, Fairy Shenhua's next sentence made Dui Jia dumbfounded. Fairy Shenhua pointed with her finger and said, the troublemaker of the Myriad Thunder Valley has already come to Great Thunder Hall to accept his punishment. Ah? Dui Jia unconsciously looked at the Myriad Thunder Valley disciple kneeling on the ground. Who else could it be but Xiang Yang? Sigh, Dui Jia sighed inwardly. Cui Hongshan jumping out to take the blame for Xiao Hua had already exceeded her expectations. Xiang Yang was even more miraculous. Long before Dui Jia had arrived at the Myriad Thunder Valley, he had already gone to Great Thunder Hall to take the blame. How could Dui Jia endure this? For a moment, Dui Jia didn't know what to say. What's the situation in the Myriad Thunder Valley? Fairy Shenhua asked coldly. Clearly she was already beyond furious. That's right, who wouldn't fly into a rage after knowing that the Dao sect had suffered a great defeat in the Dao Sword War and that the lives of tens of thousands of their own disciples were unknown. Reporting to Martial Ant, the Myriad Thunder Valley has already disappeared. There will no longer be a grand occasion like the Myriad Thunder Tide. Dui Jia said indifferently and even added, the effects of the Myriad Thunder Valley have already begun to weaken a long time ago. Now that it has disappeared, it's just that we were caught unprepared. They had heard of the awe-inspiring name of the Great Thunder Hall. This kind of formless prestige had long been deeply ingrained in their hearts and minds. It was different from Xiao Hua's fearless newborn calf. Eldest senior brother? When Xiaohua entered the Great Thunder Hall, he did not lower his head like Xue Minghui and Cui Hongshan. Instead, he swept his gaze and very easily saw Xiang Yang's familiar back. When he saw Xiang Yang's kneeling figure, how could Xiaohua not understand why Xiang Yang had come to the Great Thunder Hall? In an instant, Xiaohua's heart was very sour. His nose was sour and his eyes were sour. He then looked at Cui Hongshan, who was respectfully walking in front of him, and slightly lowered his head. He had already made a decision. For these two senior brothers who did not care about their own safety and simply did not consider taking the blame for him, he would lower his proud head. Chapter 3055. Greetings, greetings, Palace Masters. Xue Minghui's tone was somewhat stuttering, and her voice was also slightly trembling. Her heart was in a mess and she didn't know how to deal with this matter. And Xue Minghui, Fairy Xianhua said coldly, let me ask you, what exactly happened in your myriad Thunder Valley? Why did two disciples cause trouble all of a sudden? Tell us everything that happened in the myriad Thunder Valley. Yes, disciple. Xue Minghui's head was still lowered and she hesitated for a moment before saying, for some reason in the myriad Thunder Valley, the lightning that was usually like raindrops suddenly completely disappeared. Disciple led the myriad Thunder Valley to investigate for a long time, but didn't find anything wrong. Is it that simple? Hearing that Xue Minghui couldn't say anything, Fairy Xianhua asked, when the lightning was annihilated, who was on duty in the myriad Thunder Valley? It was Disciple. Xiang Yang was still unwilling to give up, and before Xiaohua could speak he hurriedly said, Disciple just touched the restriction of the myriad Thunder Valley, and before I could enter, the lightning in the myriad Thunder Valley instantly disappeared. Although Disciple doesn't know the reason, Disciple knows that Disciple must have made a mistake in the incantation, causing the myriad Thunder Valley to go wrong. AI Xiaohua sighed, stepped forward and answered with a bow, I'll let martial ancestor Xianhua know that this matter is Disciple's fault. What a helpless disciple. Two disciples actually admitted their mistakes at the same time. Fairy Xianhua sneered. Martial ancestor Xianhua. Dui Jie's heart moved and she seemed to plead for leniency, but also seemed to sneer as she said, it's the helpless disciples who admitted their mistakes at the same time. 3. Fairy Xianhua's mouth curved into a mocking smile. If all three admit their mistakes, then all three will be punished at the same time. Don't think that you can escape punishment by acting this way. No need. Xiaohua said indifferently, the matter is very simple. Originally, Disciple was on duty in the myriad Thunder Valley under the punishment order of the Great Thunder Hall, but the lightning in the myriad Thunder Valley suddenly disappeared. At that time, Senior Martial Brother Xiang Yang and Junior Martial Brother Cui Hongshan were not in the myriad Thunder Valley. The two of them were only afraid that Disciple would be punished again, so they rushed to stand out. It won't be difficult to investigate this matter. Grandmaster only needs to send a disciple to the 10,000 Thunder Valley to ask where Senior Martial Brother Xiang Yang went and where the 10,000 Thunder Valley was before the change. Junior Brother Xiang Yang turned around and shook his head. You don't understand at all. Xiang Yang's tone was the same as Cui Hongshan's. No matter what. Xiaohua ignored Xiang Yang and said respectfully, the responsibility of the myriad Thunder Valley lies on this junior's shoulders. Whether it is punishment or punishment, this junior will bear it alone. Don't involve the other disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley. Xiang Yang. Cui Hongshan. Fairy Xianhua snorted coldly, you dare to deceive Colossal Thunder Hall? Admittedly, your intentions are good and you want to help your fellow apprentice brothers, but this matter cannot be allowed to continue for long. After this matter is over, go to your thunder-shaking palace and receive 30 whips. Do you have any objections? Senior apprentice Sister Xianhua, hearing this, Thunder Tablet Reverend's face changed slightly as he hurriedly said, 30 lashes. Isn't that too heavy? Heavy. Junior Brother Lei Meng, if you think it's heavy then tell me, how should I deal with it? Fairy Xianhua sneered, the myriad Thunder Valley was deployed by your thunder-shaking palace. You are also responsible for the annihilation of the myriad Thunder Valley's lightning. This old one naturally has no right to deal with you. When Sect Master comes out of seclusion, this old one will ask him to punish you. Sigh. Thunder Tablet Reverend sighed. He knew that Fairy Xianhua was currently in a fit of anger and was worried about the tens of thousands of Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples. At this moment, anyone who made a mistake would be severely punished. Thus he no longer argued with her. However, thinking about Xiaohua's punishment, Thunder Tablet Reverend unconsciously frowned and looked at Xiaohua with some pity. "We have no objections." Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan's faces also changed. They did not expect Fairy Xianhua to be so strict. However, seeing that Thunder Tablet Reverend's pleading was useless, they could only lower their heads and admit their guilt. You all can just stand to the side." Fairy Xianhua no longer paid attention to Xiang Yang, Cui Hongshan and Zhuo Minghui. She coldly looked at Xiaohua and asked in an indifferent tone, "Xiaohua, you're really something. This old one really did not expect you to be so arrogant. Look at you, it's fine if you don't return to the Imperial Thunder Sect, but once you do, you've stirred up the entire sect. This old one let you stay in seclusion in the Myriad Thunder Valley so that you could calm your heart. This is not the great battle of Daoan Sword. You are a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect and should properly abide by the rules of my Imperial Thunder Sect. In the end, this old one's arrangement actually brought disaster to my Imperial Thunder Sect. The Myriad Thunder Valley's lightning was actually annihilated. What do you want this old one to say about you? Back then, when this old one first met you, it was also in the Great Thunder Palace. At that time you were so humble. Even when you brought back the thunder-devouring bead, you were not arrogant and did not ask for rewards. This old one's impression of you was extremely good. However, look at you now. This old one does not dare to believe that this is the same person." Xiaohua smiled bitterly. The annihilation of the Myriad Thunder Valley's lightning was indeed his fault. He had no choice but to admit it, and there was no need to conceal it. What he could not say was the specific reason. Therefore Xiaohua bowed and said, "This disciple knows his mistake. This disciple neglected his duty and caused the Myriad Thunder Valley's lightning to be annihilated. No need to blame yourself." Fairy Xianhua waved her hand. "You still do not have the divine ability to cause the lightning to be annihilated in the Myriad Thunder Valley. You merely neglected your duty. Yes, this disciple understands. This disciple will accept his punishment." Xiaohua willingly lowered his head. "He." Fairy Xianhua sneered and ignored Xiaohua. Instead, she looked at Thunder Meng Reverend and asked, "Junior brother Lei Meng, why don't you tell me what responsibility the person in charge of the Myriad Thunder Valley has to bear? What kind of punishment will he receive?" Thunder Meng Reverend's expression was indescribably strange. He stared at Xiaohua for a long while, then said with an emotionless voice, "According to the rules set by founder Qian Yun himself, any disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect who guards the Thousand Thunder Mountain, Myriad Thunder Valley and Imperial Thunder Sea must spare no effort to guard the foundation of our Imperial Thunder Sect's formations. Do not have any negligence or wishful thinking. If you discover the slightest abnormality, immediately report it to your Thunder Palace. The palace masters of the various Thunder Palaces who receive the news can, according to the urgency of the matter, report it to the Palace Master of the Thunder Palace, or even directly to the Sect Master of the Great Thunder Palace. If the responsibility of the person in charge of the Myriad Thunder Valley and Imperial Thunder Sea causes the formation of our Imperial Thunder Sect to be damaged, depending on the severity of the situation, a light punishment will be to cripple his cultivation and expel him from the Imperial Thunder Sect. A heavy punishment will be to immediately search his soul and kill him on the spot." "Ah?" Thunder Meng Reverend's words struck Xiaohua's heart like a bolt from the blue, causing him to almost cry out in surprise. This was really beyond his expectations. He really did not expect that the Myriad Thunder Valley, which had been weak for so many years, would actually have such an important position in its early years. It actually required the founder of the sect, Founder Qian Yun, to personally give the order. Furthermore, the punishment for a mistake was so heavy. This kind of punishment was far beyond Xiaohua's imagination. "Junior brother Lei Meng, do you think the annihilation of the Myriad Thunder Valley, which Xiaohua is currently in charge of, is light or heavy?" Fairy Xianhua asked indifferently. Thunder Meng Reverend sighed, replying, "Naturally extremely heavy, heavy to the point of no return. Not only has the Myriad Thunder Valley ceased to exist, even the sect protecting formation of our Imperial Thunder Sect has been affected. However what?" Fairy Xianhua continued. However, is the current situation of the Myriad Thunder Valley different from before? Yes. Thunder Meng Reverend's reply was somewhat low and even very reluctant. Disciple asks Martial Uncle Lei Meng a question. Qian Fengjiu, the palace master of Qianyun's Thunder Palace, stepped out from the crowd, bowing and asking, "What Martial Uncle said just now, was it the words of the founder of our Imperial Thunder sect himself?" Yes. Thunder Meng Reverend's reply was somewhat lower. Then, in all these years, has any sect master of our Imperial Thunder sect changed this sect law? Qian Fengju's voice was equally calm. No. Thunder Meng Reverend's voice was almost inaudible. Disciple has no more questions. Many thanks for Martial Uncle Lei Meng's teachings. Qian Fengju retreated like the wind. Plop Xiang Yang, who was at the side, couldn't help but kneel down and say anxiously, "I would like to inform all the palace masters that this is the first time Xiaohua is on duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley. This is all my fault for not informing Xiaohua of this rule. He simply does not know the importance of being on duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley. If you want to pursue responsibility, this junior is willing to share half of it with junior brother Xiao. Xiang Yang, when you were on duty for the first time, it was your master who personally told you this sect law, right?" Fairy Xianhua asked indifferently. Yes, Xiang Yang was slightly startled, but he still answered honestly. "Cui Hongshan, when you were on duty for the first time, it was your master who personally told you this sect law, right?" Fairy Xianhua also asked indifferently. Yes, Cui Hongshan was also slightly startled, but looking at Zhua Minghui, who was at a loss, he still answered. "This is the first sect law of the Myriad Thunder Valley, which is above the other sect laws of the Imperial Thunder sect. It is something that all disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley must remember in their hearts." Fairy Xianhua said, "Master told this disciple the sect law to let this disciple understand the importance of the Myriad Thunder Valley. If your master had no choice but to tell this sect law to all of you, and all of you committed a mistake, would you still want your master to bear the responsibility?" This. Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan were dumbfounded. They did not dare to nod again. If they really nodded, then even Wu Qi would be implicated. The sect law clearly states that the disciples on duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley must bear the responsibility for the changes in the Myriad Thunder Valley, but it does not mean that even the master has to bear the responsibility. Our Imperial Thunder sect is a large sect in the Shi country. We have a complete system of rules and regulations. We will never wrong a good person and we will never tolerate a bad person. Fairy Xianhua continued, since Xiang Yang admitted that he made a mistake in teaching Xiaohua a lesson, then he also has to bear the responsibility. Increase the whip punishment by 30. But if you want to share the blame for Xiaohua, that is absolutely impossible. If this matter were to spread out, it would ruin the reputation of our Imperial Thunder sect. Yes. Xiang Yang bit his lips. He did not know how to respond to Fairy Xianhua's explanation. Fairy Xianhua looked to the left and right. The 8 great thunder palaces will give their opinions. If more than half of them agree, then I will decide on behalf of the sect master. If not, then escort Xiaohua to Thunder Prison and wait for the sect master to come out of seclusion before making a decision. In addition, since the palace masters of Qianlei Palace and Canlei Palace are not here, the 2 palace masters will decide together. Good, Lei Meng Daoist clapped, his eyes shining. Many thanks Senior Sister Xianhua. No need. Fairy Xianhua said coldly, I've said it before. My Imperial Thunder sect is a famous sect and everything has to be done according to the rules. This matter is just me following the rules, so there's no need to thank me. Moreover, on behalf of my Kunlei Palace, regardless of Xiaohua's military exploits, according to the sect law, I agree to soul search Xiaohua and execute him immediately. Lei Meng Daoist bit his lips and looked at the palace masters of Qianlei Palace. In a short while the palace masters of Qianlei Palace unanimously agreed with Fairy Xianhua's opinion. What about Canlei Palace? Lei Meng Daoist looked at Canlei Palace, which also had no palace master. In his heart, Qianlei Palace had no conflict with Xiaohua and would not make a decision like Qianlei Palace and push Xiaohua into the abyss. Unfortunately, Qianlei Palace's decision was just as quick. In a short while they also had an answer. This answer was even more out of Lei Meng Daoist's expectation. All the palace masters of Qianlei Palace also agreed to kill Xiaohua. Hiss, this is bad. Lei Meng Daoist sucked in a breath of cold air and said to himself, didn't Reverend Mi Yu also fall into Sky Patrol City? I'm afraid these palace masters of Qianlei Palace are venting their anger on Xiaohua. Now there were already 3 lightning palaces that wanted to kill Xiaohua. If one more lightning palace agreed, Lei Meng Daoist did not dare to think further. Fortunately at this moment Fairy Xian Feng of Mythical Thunder Palace said, I feel that although Xiaohua made a mistake, his mistake is not to the point of death. Of course he can avoid death but he can't escape punishment. Senior Sister Xianhua, please be magnanimous. I don't agree to kill Xiaohua. Phew, Lei Meng Daoist's hanging heart could finally relax a little. He anxiously looked at Lei Tingzi of Xuanlei Palace. Among the 8 palace masters, Lei Tingzi was the palace master who rarely spoke. Whenever he spoke, even Qianlei master would have to think for a moment. Lei Tingzi said indifferently, Senior Sister Xian Feng's words are reasonable. Xiaohua's crime is not to the point of death. Good, Lei Meng Daoist almost wanted to clap his hands. Unfortunately his heart sank again. Because Lei Tingzi continued, but the law of the clan is the law of the clan. In front of the law of the clan, regardless of status or cultivation level, it is what the secular people often say. If a prince commits a crime he will be punished the same as a commoner. Moreover, this is the law of the clan personally written by the founding ancestor of my Imperial Thunder sect. I agree with Senior Sister Xianhua's opinion. Kill Xiaohua, uphold the law of the clan, raise morale and inspire Imperial Thunder sect. What about Zhenlei Palace? Lei Meng Daoist looked at Zhen Yunzi. Disciple will express his opinion first. Without waiting for Zhen Yunzi to speak, Dui Jia of Dui Lei Palace hurriedly said, Disciple feels that, although Xiaohua committed a mistake, it was ultimately unintentional. His cultivation level is shallow, having just reached the middle stage of foundation establishment. Originally he was barely able to guard Myriad Thunder Valley. He glanced at Dui Jia and nodded. What Senior Martial Sister Wanfeng and Junior Martial Sister Dui Jia said is reasonable. After all, Xiaohua didn't do it on purpose. It can even be said that he didn't have any ability to save himself. If we punish him for a serious crime it would be unfair. I also suggest that Xiaohua redeem himself by meritorious service and be dealt with lightly. Xiaohua's face did not conceal his joy. Now the situation was 4 against 3. Including Lei Tan Immortal of Qian Thunder Palace who had not spoken, it was definitely a 50-50 chance. According to Fairy Xianhua, she could not kill him at this time. Instead she could only send him to Thunder Prison and wait for Master Qianlei to come out of seclusion. Thinking of what he had done for Imperial Thunder Sect and his identity as a nascent soul nameless, Xiaohua could already foresee the prospect of Master Qianlei pardoning him. Naturally Zhou Minghui, Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan were overjoyed. Chapter 3057. However, at this moment when everyone in Myriad Thunder Valley felt that the outcome was already decided, Thunder Meng Daoist's words threw everyone into the abyss. Xiaohua. Thunder Meng Daoist asked, I remember you received the sect master's special pardon order during the Dao Sword War? Yes. Xiaohua stared blankly, somewhat puzzled. Do you still have it with you? Thunder Meng Daoist asked kindly. Yes, Xiaohua said, taking out the sect master's special pardon order without hesitation. Good. Seeing the special pardon order, Thunder Meng Daoist relaxed and said loudly, I also agree with Fairy Xianhua's opinion. Immediately search Xiaohua's soul and execute him according to the sect's rules. However, since Xiaohua has the sect master's special pardon order, no matter what serious crime, as long as it is not an unforgivable crime, he can be spared. Therefore I suggest that Xiaohua be stripped of his identity as a disciple of Imperial Thunder Sect and be expelled from Sky Thunder Peak. What? Not only was Xiaohua dumbfounded, All the palace masters and hall masters in Great Thunder Palace were also dumbfounded. No one would have thought that, in the end, when Xiaohua was about to be lightly punished, Thunder Palace's Thunder Meng Daoist, who had always been protecting Xiaohua, actually pushed Xiaohua out and suggested that Xiaohua be expelled from Imperial Thunder Sect. Senior. Xiaohua smiled bitterly. With Thunder Meng Daoist's betrayal, it was already 5 against 3. There was absolutely no possibility of a comeback. Xiaohua, Thunder Meng Daoist said indifferently, Fairy Xianhua is right. The sect's rules are the sect's rules. You made a mistake no matter what excuse you have, it is still a mistake. Since it is a mistake you have to bear it yourself. The sect's rules are also very clear. The light punishment is crippling your cultivation and expelling you from Imperial Thunder Sect. The heavy punishment is death on the spot. You have the sect master's special pardon order and can avoid the most important punishment, but the lightest punishment is still expulsion from Imperial Thunder Sect. Even if I want to help you, I can't avoid the sect's rules. If we can avoid the sect's rules, how can our Imperial Thunder Sect become a sect? Don't you think so? Sigh. Xiaohua was really speechless. After all, he really did make a mistake. After all, he has to bear this responsibility. Senior Sister Xianhua, do you agree with what I said? Lei Meng Daoist raised his head and looked at Fairy Xianhua with indifferent eyes. His eyes also swept across the palace masters of Qianlei Palace and Canlei Palace. Apparently, Fairy Xianhua had forgotten that Xiaohua had received a special pardon from the sect leader. Now that she heard Thunder Tablet Reverend mention it, she understood that with this object, she would not be able to take Xiaohua's life or even abolish his cultivation base. After pondering for a moment, Fairy Xianhua nodded and said, It is rare for Thunder Tablet Reverend to be so selfless as to take the words of the founding ancestor of our Imperial Thunder Sect to heart. If no one else has any objections, then this is the decision. Naturally, there were many palace masters from Qianlei Palace and Canlei Palace who were unhappy about this, but under the gaze of Reverend Thunder Meng and Fairy Yao Feng, they all shut their mouths obediently. Alright. After waiting for a moment, seeing that no one spoke, Fairy Xianhua opened her mouth and said, Xiaohua, a disciple of Thunderquake Palace's Myriad Thunder Valley, neglected his duty and did not report the abnormality in Myriad Thunder Valley in time. As a result, Myriad Thunder Valley was annihilated and caused a great loss to our Imperial Thunder Sect. According to founding ancestor Qianyun's instructions, Xiaohua should be killed on the spot. However, in view of Xiaohua's outstanding military service in the Great Battle of Dao Sword, the current sect leader Qianlei Master bestowed a special pardon to spare his life and not abolish his cultivation base. The special pardon will be revoked and he will be expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Xiaohua, do you have any objections? Fairy Xianhua finished speaking and looked at Xiaohua. At this moment, Xiaohua's heart was empty, as if he had suddenly become a child without a home. Everything in front of him was a blur. Hearing Fairy Xianhua's words, he nodded blankly. He did not know how to answer. Alright, in that case, Xiaohua, I'll give you 6 hours to say goodbye to your old friends in the Myriad Thunder Valley. All of your spirit stones, elixirs and cultivation technique jade slips must be left in the Myriad Thunder Valley. When you descend from the Sky Thunder Peak, the patrolling disciples will check your storage pouch. You are not allowed to take anything from the Imperial Thunder Sect out of the Sky Thunder Peak. Fairy Xianhua said again, after 6 hours, you will no longer be a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. If you appear in the vicinity of the Sky Thunder Peak, all of the disciples are allowed to kill you. Yes. Xiaohua nodded blankly and looked at Zhuo Minghui blankly. Zhuo Minghui's tears flowed down. She covered her mouth with her right hand and sobbed softly, not daring to make a sound. You can go back and wait. Fairy Xianhua said indifferently. She seemed a little tired, then turned her head and said, Palace guards, take away the special pardon from Xiaohua. In addition, quickly send people to the Sky Patrol City to investigate the news of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples. She then looked at Lei Meng Daoist and Zhen Yunzi and said, once this matter is over, we need to quickly discuss how to deal with the Sky Patrol City. While speaking, a palace guard came in from outside the Great Thunder Hall, taking away the sect master's special pardon medallion from Xiaohua's hands. Just as he was about to lead the three of them away, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something at this moment, asking urgently, "This Xiao has been expelled from the sect, then what about my life spirit tablet?" "Don't worry about it, fellow Taoist Xiao," the palace guard said softly. "Palace master has already given the order." The order to expel disciples was first sent to the Jade Archive Hall. "They will return the life spirit tablet to fellow Taoist Xiao when you leave the Sky Thunder Peak." And Xiao Hua nodded slightly and followed the palace guard out of the Great Thunder Hall in a daze. When Zhou Minghui and the other two accompanied Xiao Hua to the sky and hurriedly flew towards the myriad Thunder Valley, the palace guard sighed and withdrew his sympathetic gaze. Zhou Minghui and the rest of the four remained silent for the time it took to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes. "Eldest senior brother." Suddenly Xiao Hua asked as if he was in a dream, "Little brother? Little brother isn't dreaming, right?" However, without waiting for Xiang Yang to answer, Xiao Hua said to himself, "AI, all of this really seems like a dream. I really hope that when I return to the Myriad Thunder Valley, this long dream will wake me up. Little brother is still in the Myriad Thunder Valley, and Myriad Thunder is roaring. Oh no, little brother would rather not go to the Myriad Thunder Valley and stay in the valley to cultivate with Li and the others." Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan looked at each other, not knowing how to answer. Xiao Hua let out a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. He looked at Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan and said, "Eldest senior brother, junior brother Cui, thank you so much for just now." The Xiao didn't think that this Myriad Thunder Valley was actually so important that the two of you could still risk your lives. Speaking up to here, Xiao Hua was somewhat choked up and was unable to continue. That's right, this kind of true love, even if they were blood brothers, was nothing more than this. Although they were brothers under the same master, apart from cultivation, short experiences and short battles, Xiao Hua and the two of them didn't interact for a long time. Even when compared to those so-called sworn brothers who pledged their undying love, Xiao Hua was still greatly moved by the fact that Xiang Yang and Cui Hongshan were willing to sacrifice their lives for him under such circumstances. Putting himself in their shoes, Xiao Hua asked himself, under the circumstances of having a child and a lovely wife, Xiao Hua would still be hesitant. How could he be compared to Cui Hongshan's prompt decision? He couldn't be compared to Xiang Yang's swift and decisive action. Xiang Yang smiled bitterly and said in a low voice, "Junior brother Xiao is now the backbone of my Myriad Thunder Valley. With you there is also my Myriad Thunder Valley. How can this elder brother let you go and accept your punishment?" Of course, this elder brother also didn't know that the punishment was actually so heavy. Right now this elder brother's heart is also panicking. How could Xiao Hua believe Xiang Yang's words? Now he already knew the meaning behind Cui Hongshan's gaze when he left the Myriad Thunder Valley. It was absolute, it was an eternal farewell. Even Cui Hongshan knew the consequences, how could Xiang Yang not know? However, the current Xiao Hua didn't want to say anything. After a moment of silence, he opened his mouth again and said, "Master's wife, bring me to the place where Master is in seclusion to take a look." No matter what, although this disciple is useless, I am still Master's disciple. Now that this disciple is leaving, it's better to say goodbye to him. Then he said in self-mockery, "Fortunately Master is in seclusion now. Out of sight, out of mind. If he was here today, he would definitely kill this useless disciple of mine on the spot, right?" Zhou Minghui had been enduring all this while, but at this time she couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears flowed down her cheeks as she grabbed Xiao Hua's hand and hugged his head in her arms. She cried, "Child, you are the most capable disciple of my Myriad Thunder Valley. Although your master has always blamed you, you also know his suffering. He is resentful that you don't live up to his expectations. Don't blame him. No matter if he beat or scolded you, it's for your own good. That day when he heard that you and Hongshan died at Jingquan Mountain, you didn't know his sorrow. It was precisely because of this that he went into seclusion. It was because he wanted to avenge the two of you after he reached Jindan. The reason why he couldn't come out of seclusion for so long. It was because of this knot in his heart. It was because he felt that he had let you down. Even when you became his disciple, he didn't teach you much." Boom, Zhou Minghui's words struck Xiao Hua like a bolt of lightning. That's right, he never understood why he couldn't come out of seclusion for more than 10 years. And Zhou Minghui never said anything. Wasn't it because of his and Cui Hongshan's deaths? Wasn't this not in his heart the natural mote that caused him to helplessly condense his Jindan? Mistress, Xiaohua cried, if it wasn't for this disciple being too willful, junior martial brother Cui wouldn't have encountered such danger, and master wouldn't have gone into seclusion like this. This disciple also wouldn't have fallen to such a state. That's right, some things, some people, although very important to you, you might not necessarily pay attention to them. Perhaps these things have already accompanied you for several years or even several decades, but you have never paid attention to them, because you feel that they are there. Regardless of whether you look at them or not, they will always love you and protect you. But once you lose them, you will realize that once you lose them, your life will immediately become inferior, immediately become dim. And only when you lose them will you know their position in your heart. These spirit stones and other items are exactly what you need. Haha. Xiaohua cracked a smile. Even if little brother is a rogue cultivator, I'm still the rogue cultivator with the highest cultivation. What do these spirit stones count for? As long as little brother wants them, I can get them at any time. Hehe, that's true. Cui Hongshan couldn't help but say, with senior brother's cultivation, even the most famous rogue cultivator in the country of Shi, Elder 100 Zhang, can't compare to senior brother, right? Go quickly. Xue Minghui waves her hand and says, Xiaohua doesn't need them now. If you need them in the future, send me a message at any time. Although he's no longer a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, the Myriad Thunder Valley will always be his home. Yes, disciple understands. Xiang Yang didn't dare to say anything more and hurriedly flew away. Xue Minghui and Cui Hongshan took Xiaohua to another place. After another hour, they arrived at a mountain ridge not too close to the Myriad Thunder Valley. It was a place where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was dense. The mountain forest was quiet, with the crisp cries of immortal birds. Xiaohua scanned it with his divine sense and understood that it was a good place for him to go into seclusion and condense his core. Over there, Cui Hongshan pointed at a low cliff. Needless to say, it was a concealment illusory formation. Xiaohua flew to this place and stared straight at the illusory formation. After the time it took to make a cup of tea, he landed on the opposite side of the cliff and knelt on the ground. He firmly kowtowed 3 times and said in a low voice, Master, disciple is unfilial. In the Tao Sword Great Battle, disciple admittedly gained a lot of face for you, but I also brought great trouble to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Now, disciple even brought a calamity to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Disciple was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect by the Great Thunder Palace. I'm afraid that in Master's eyes, disciple is also an eternal scar. After Master comes out of seclusion, don't be angry. Just treat it as if you've never taken in disciple. Sigh at the side. Xue Minghui sighed. She could practically already imagine Master's rage upon hearing that Xiaohua was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect after helplessly coming out of seclusion. When, suddenly, a faint rumbling sound came from the distant illusory formation. Bit by bit, a pressure was released from the illusory formation. Bit by bit, a hurricane appeared out of thin air. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding several dozen li all gathered towards the cliff. Even the white clouds above the illusory formation that had scattered willow catkins earlier were now torn to shreds by an indescribable fluctuation. Master has condensed her core. Cui Hongshan cried out in extreme pleasant surprise. That's right. Xiaohua's face also carried joy. However, he once again looked at the crystal that was slowly growing from the illusory formation, which was even smaller than a thumb. Not only was this crystal small, it was also growing slowly and expanding even slower. It was far from Xiaohua's surging state. Xue is truly a godly person. Xue Minghui was practically clapping her hands. She said that she would definitely come out of seclusion before the end of the year. It really is so. Master's wife, Xiaohua, looked at the situation and said indifferently, however, it seems that Master will still need some time to condense her core. If it's not 10 days, it'll still be 20 days. Disciple is afraid that I won't be able to see Master come out of seclusion. Alas. Zhuo Minghui sighed helplessly. Since Master has condensed her core, Master's wife can just wait here. Xiaohua forced a smile and said, eldest senior brother and senior sister are over at Myriad Thunder Valley. You don't need to go over. How can that be? Zhuo Minghui immediately waved her hand and said, your master has already begun to condense her core. Even if there are any mishaps, this old woman can't help. And this time will be this old woman's last time. Even if I see you again in the future, you won't be this old woman's legitimate disciple anymore. Master's wife, don't worry. Xiaohua said with a smile. No matter what, you will always be this disciple's master's wife. Even if this disciple condenses his core or reaches nascent soul, the way I address you will definitely not change, and the respect I will definitely not decrease. Master condensing her core here is the hope of my Myriad Thunder Valley. If you don't stay here, how can it be done? Let's go, this old woman will send you off. Zhuo Minghui didn't wait for him to finish speaking and flew up resolutely. If I didn't bring you here today, this old woman wouldn't have known that he would condense his core. And looking at this situation, the core condensation has just begun. As you said, it will definitely not be completed without more than 10 days, so it's useless for this old woman to stay here. Right, Xiaohua, how did you know that your master needs more than 10 days to condense his core? Yes, Xiaohua's cultivation level is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. How could he know the details of core condensation? But before Xiaohua could speak, Master's wife, second senior brother, Cui Hongshan could only remind them again, there's still some time to go to Sky Thunder Peak. Let's hurry over, okay? Let's go, Master's wife. Xiaohua took the opportunity to fly up. Shocking Thunder Peak has calculated the time extremely well. It simply doesn't allow this disciple to stop for even a moment. Hurrying to Sky Thunder Peak, the familiar mountain gate was right in front of them. The number of disciples on duty in the nearby sky increased again, and their cultivation levels were much higher than usual. In addition to disciples in the 11th or 12th layer of aura refining, there were some early-stage foundation establishment disciples, and even some late-stage foundation establishment masters occasionally appeared in the clouds. As Xiaohua and the others flew past, they didn't know how many divine senses scanned them, and their vigilance was obvious. Seeing this scene, Xiaohua sighed and gradually understood the consequences of his annihilation of the Myriad Thunder Valley. But the problem was that Xiaohua himself was also very wrongly accused. Until now, he still didn't know what the thing that fell into his space was, how it got close to him and how it fell into his space. Foster father. An anxious voice came from Xiaohua's ears. It was Xiang Zhili's voice. Please wait a moment, the boy and the others are all here, flying slowly. Xiaohua smiled and released his Buddhist awareness, already seeing the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley chasing behind him. He said, Master's wife, I'm afraid there's still enough time, let's fly slowly. Eldest senior brother and the others are leading aura refining disciples, they may not be as fast as us. Zhuo Minghui naturally also released her divine sense, but unfortunately she couldn't find any trace of Xiang Yang and the others. She didn't understand how Xiaohua knew that Xiang Yang hadn't arrived at Sky Thunder Peak, and she also didn't know that Xiang Zhili had a divine ability that she didn't know about. Sure enough, when Xiaohua and the others slowly flew to Sky Thunder Peak, Xiang Yang arrived with all the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley. Without waiting for the others to speak, Xiang Zhili hurriedly said, Foster father, with your battle achievements and cultivation, the position of Imperial Thunder Sect's head will be yours in the future. Why did they expel you from the Imperial Thunder Sect? The boy heard from father, it's just a cliché, an old rule of the Myriad Thunder Valley. Those kinds of rules are for people to break. There were many disciples on duty at Sky Thunder Peak, so Xiang Zhili's words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Nonsense, who would dare to claim to be the Imperial Thunder Sect's head in the future? This was probably the first time in their lives that they heard it. When everyone's eyes fell on Xiaohua and saw that he was only at the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm, they all sneered. Naturally, the thought of this person doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth appeared in their minds. Of course, many people knew Xiaohua, so when they heard that such a meritorious person like Xiaohua was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect, they were greatly surprised. Chapter 3059. League Earth. Xiaohua forced a smile and stopped him. How can a person's life be smooth? If it's not at the bottom of the valley, then it's at the peak of the valley. Foster father made a mistake today and is already willing to admit it. Presumably, you also know that being expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect alive is already the best outcome. But, Xiang Zhili argued, my myriad Thunder Valley isn't as important as before. There's no need to argue about this matter at this time. Xiaohua shook his head. In the Great Thunder Palace, your father and even Thunder Meng Daoist argued with reason, but they couldn't convince the masses. What's the use of you talking about it? Moreover, Lear, this matter may not be a bad thing for foster father. It's only because you and your family are in myriad Thunder Valley that foster father is concerned. Side boy knows. Xiang Zhili sighed. In the end, my myriad Thunder Valley and my Imperial Thunder Sect aren't places that foster father and other hidden dragons can occupy. Foster father is also absolutely not a fish in a pond. When foster father transforms into a dragon in the 9 heavens, that will be the time for Great Thunder Palace to regret. Before Xiaohua could open his mouth to express his modesty, several late-stage Foundation establishment disciples had already flashed out from the clouds and sneered. They stood straight not far from the crowd, clearly having already heard the news of Xiaohua being expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Xiang Zhili also sneered, looking somewhat provocatively at these people. No need to pay attention to them. Xiaohua laughed. Dragons will eventually soar into the 9 heavens. Those who aren't dragons will never know the pride of dragons. Junior brother Xiao. Yan Qinglian flew up, biting her lips and bowing. Others don't know how good you are, but Xiang Yang and I are grateful. Even now we still have the friendship of martial brothers. Please accept our family's thanks. At this time, Xiang Zhili was extremely obedient. He hurried to Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian's side and bowed respectfully. Yes, if not for Xiaohua, how could Xiang Yang and Yan Qinglian break through to late-stage Foundation establishment? If not for Xiaohua, how could Xiang Zhili come about? How could Xiang Yang's family of 3 escape from the blood seal? After Xiang Yang finished his greeting, Cui Hongshan and Dui Qimeng also stepped forward. At this time Cui Yingying didn't know what was going on. She placed her small white finger in her mouth and shyly hid in Dui Qimeng's embrace, revealing half an eye to look at Xiaohua. If eldest senior brother wants to thank senior brother, then the 2 of us must thank senior brother even more. Cui Hongshan looked at Xiaohua and said, previously this younger brother did not understand senior apprentice brother's good intentions, and even went against senior apprentice brother. The battle between the sword and the Dao made me realize that I was a frog in a well. If it wasn't for you, I would have died on the battlefield. How could I have held the dual cultivation ceremony with Qimeng? Where would Yingying be? Second senior brother, please accept a bow from me and my family. As he spoke, Cui Hongshan, Dui Qimeng and Cui Yingying, whose head was pressed down by Dui Qimeng, knelt down. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiaohua, Cui Hongshan and Dui Qimeng would have died at Foul Crow Mountain and wouldn't have been able to reach Sky Patrol City. If it wasn't for Xiaohua, Cui Hongshan wouldn't have been able to escape from the battle at Quanjin Mountain and Dui Qimeng wouldn't have been able to escape from Tu Hongji's vicious hands. How could the clouds disperse and the sky clear and the 2 of them finally get married? How could they advance to the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm in Xiaohua's hands? This younger brother also thanks second senior brother for his kindness. Immediately after, Wu Qing also stepped forward. Although his face was still indifferent, he also bowed respectfully. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiaohua, where would the lightning core come from? Where would Wu Qing come from? As for the lightning core in Wu Qing's body, the current Wu Qing probably still didn't know its true power, right? We thank Martial Uncle for his kindness in teaching us. Without waiting for Wu Qing to get up, Shen Quan and the others knelt down again. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiaohua, they wouldn't have entered the myriad Thunder Valley, and they wouldn't have been able to meet Xiaohua. Currently, the cultivation conditions in the myriad Thunder Valley should be the best in the entire Imperial Thunder Sect. As for Xiaohua's previous teachings, it had even pointed out a brand new realm for their cultivation. This kind of influence was the same as Wu Qing's and Cui Yingying's lightning pellets. Only when they understood it in the future would they know how precious it was. At this time there were already quite a few disciples on Sky Thunder Peak. Most of them were disciples on guard duty at the mountain gate. They were somewhat dumbstruck. Although there weren't many disciples in the myriad Thunder Valley, except for Zhua Minghui who was at the Gold Core realm, who stood somewhat dejectedly to the side, the other disciples all bowed and thanked Xiao Hua, who was at the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. In particular, everyone's faces were filled with respect, and their expressions weren't fake. They really couldn't imagine that an ordinary disciple could actually make so many contributions to the myriad Thunder Valley. Xiao Hua wasn't being polite now. This was the respect he deserved. In particular, although they were still old friends and their feelings were still the same, their status had an essential difference. Martial Uncle Xiao. In the distance, a panting voice sounded again. When Xiao Hua raised his head, he saw that it was Zhen Hua, who was at the Foundation Establishment realm. Xiao Hua raised his brows. He didn't expect Zhen Hua to make it in time. Disciple, just happened to have some business at Jade Archive Hall. Zhen Hua's face was somewhat red, obviously caused by urging his magic power. When I heard about Martial Uncle, I immediately rushed here. Fortunately, I was able to catch up with Martial Uncle. As he spoke, Zhen Hua also bowed and said, Disciple, will never forget Martial Uncle's great kindness. In the future, if Martial Uncle needs anything, please don't hesitate to ask. As long as it doesn't affect my Imperial Thunder Sect, Disciple will die 10,000 times without hesitation. If the disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley had bowed and thanked Xiao Hua, the disciples on duty at Sky Thunder Peak would have been surprised. However, this Foundation Establishment disciple of the Thunderous Palace actually called himself a disciple, thanked Xiao Hua and called him Martial Uncle. This made them astonished. They knew that if it wasn't for the great kindness, ordinary Foundation Establishment disciples would have their own dignity. Cultivators of the same realm who weren't particularly close to each other would all have to call each other senior martial brother. Now this disciple actually still called him Martial Uncle. Obviously his kindness was extremely great. Get up. Xiao Hua waved his hand. He looked at the distant horizon and said with a smile, the disciples of Jade Archive Hall should also be here, right? This Xiao's natal tablet is still in their hands. I don't think it'll be so fast. Zhen Hua said with a smile. Jade Archive Hall received news that our Dao sect suffered a great defeat at Sky Patrol City. They're currently sorting out the natal tablets of the tens of thousands of disciples who fell in Sky Patrol City. Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. The Thunderous Palace only gave me 6 hours and it's almost time now. As he spoke, a divine sense swept over, and then a voice familiar to Xiao Hua sounded. Xiao Hua. Alas, that voice seemed to want to say something but stopped, and it even seemed to be extremely regretful. In the distant horizon, a golden core cultivator flew over at lightning speed. Who else could it be but Zhen Qing? Huh. Seeing Zhen Qing come, Xiao Hua smiled and greeted her with a bow. Martial Uncle, we meet again. Blast Xiao Hua. Zhen Qing opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. How did you get into such a big trouble? This disciple deserves it. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. This was indeed his mood. Then Xiao Hua turned to Cui Hongshan and said, Junior brother Cui, give those 2 jade bottles to Martial Uncle Zhen. Yes. Cui Hongshan stepped forward and respectfully handed the jade bottle containing the pills to Zhen Qing. Zhen Qing understood Xiao Hua's meaning. He knew that Xiao Hua was introducing Cui Hongshan to him so that he could watch over him in the future. Thus he looked at Cui Hongshan and nodded. However, he didn't understand why Xiao Hua gave him the jade bottle. When he saw the pills in the jade bottle, he was even more puzzled. This is? Zhen Qing asked in a low voice. At this moment, Xiao Hua naturally didn't have any misgivings. He transmitted a few words in a low voice. He didn't say much, only saying Sun Qian's name and what he encountered outside Tongmu City. Hearing this, Zhen Qing's expression changed greatly. She looked at Xiao Hua with bright eyes and shouted, Are you telling the truth? How could this disciple deceive Martial Uncle? Xiao Hua said with a smile. This is a spiritual pill that this disciple obtained by chance. Might be useful. However, Martial Uncle, please don't reveal this disciple's name. Otherwise, this disciple's life will be at risk. Xiao Hua. Zhen Qing bit her lips. She didn't know what to say. Then she bowed and said, This old man, thanks. Don't. Xiaohua hurriedly stretched out his hand and stopped Zhen Qing. He smiled and said, "Martial uncle, quickly hand over this disciple's natal spirit tablet. It's almost time." Zhen Qing felt that Xiaohua's spiritual power was surging and didn't seem to be inferior to her. He was already surprised. However, after hearing Xiaohua's words, she didn't care about anything else. She clapped her hands and took out Xiaohua's natal spirit tablet. She handed it to Xiaohua and said, "Xiaohua, this old man represents the Jade Archive Hall to return this natal spirit tablet to you. From now on you have nothing to do with the Imperial Thunder Sect. No matter what you do outside the Imperial Thunder Sect, you can't consider yourself as a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Otherwise the Imperial Thunder Sect won't be so kind. We will definitely send disciples to kill you on the spot." "Yes, this Xiao understands." Xiaohua impatiently took the life spirit tablet, then channeled his energy and grabbed it. Wang! A strong golden light flashed and everyone's eyes were dazzled. Xiaohua had already absorbed the drop of blood essence into his body, and in an instant, the jade slip turned into powder and disappeared into the air, not leaving behind a single trace. Phew! After destroying the natal spirit tablet, Xiaohua finally let out a breath of relief. "Xiaohua!" Zhen Qing was shocked. "How do you know how to destroy the natal spirit tablet? This old man hasn't told you yet." "That's right. According to the old rules, after Zhen Qing finished speaking, she would have to give the method to destroy the natal spirit tablet to Xiaohua. With Xiaohua's cultivation at the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, she would have to spend a lot of effort to destroy the natal spirit tablet." Hehe, this disciple already knew. Xiaohua laughed. He clapped his hands again and took out his token and gave it to Zhen Qing. "Martial uncle, do you want to take back this token as well?" "Of course." Zhen Qing nodded. "Also, it seems like you haven't taken back the tokens from the Imperial Thunder Sect." "Alright." Xiaohua flipped his hand again. There really was a token. There were even numbers written on it. It was the token from the small house in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Xiaohua seemed to have never used it after entering the Imperial Thunder Sect. "Martial uncle, please keep it well." Xiaohua gave everything to Zhen Qing and said, "Is there anything else?" Chapter 3060. No more. Zhen Qing's expression was also gloomy. He was originally a sentimental person. Seeing Xiaohua, whom he thought highly of, fall to such a state, he had long been heartbroken. Otherwise he wouldn't have left the matters of the Jade Archive Hall and personally come to deliver the life tablet. He said in a low voice, "Next we should let the disciples on duty search you. As long as you don't have anything from my Imperial Thunder Sect in your storage bag, you can leave the mountain. Once you leave Sky Thunder Peak, you will no longer be a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect." "Alright." Xiaohua turned around and said loudly, "Which fellow Taoist will come and check me?" Alas, Zhen Qing glanced to the left and said loudly, "Xiaohua was previously a meritorious member of my Imperial Thunder Sect, and he was even the famous terrifying phoenix in the Great War of Dao and Sword. If you all perform a body search with your level of cultivation, you will be tarnishing Xiaohua's reputation for no reason. How about I do it myself? If Great Thunder Palace blames me, I will take responsibility." Yes, disciple understands. A few aura refining disciples and even foundation building disciples who were about to leave stopped and respectfully said, "Master, you're the one who's going to leave." Xiaohua pulled out the storage bag on his waist and handed it to Zhen Qing. He said with a smile, "Martial uncle, please take a look." Zhen Qing took it and looked at it. He couldn't help but smile. "Your storage bag is empty, what's there to see?" Then he threw it to a foundation building disciple and said, "You also take a look." That foundation building disciple naturally knew that Xiaohua wouldn't stupidly put anything in his storage bag. There were so many disciples behind Myriad Thunder Valley who would take it. Therefore he also took a look and returned it to Xiaohua. "Martial uncle, please search me." Xiaohua raised his hand and said with a smile. Zhen Qing stretched out his hand. A green light flashed and covered Xiaohua from head to toe. After a while Zhen Qing smiled. "Correct, there's nothing." "Yes, disciple." Alas, disciple didn't commit a heinous crime and was expelled from the sect. There's no need to find trouble for myself. Xiaohua smiled and cupped his hands. Disciple thanks Martial Uncle Zhenqing for taking care of me during these decades in Imperial Thunder Sect. You're welcome. Zhenqing returned the greeting. Although you are no longer a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, if you have the time, you can still return to the Imperial Thunder Sect. This old man will wait for your return. All right, if I have the time I will come back. Xiaohua's eyes were somewhat moist. When he turned his head to look at Xue Minghui, Xiang Yang, Tui Hongshan, Yan Qinglian and Dui Qiming, his gaze shifted from one person to another. His tears couldn't help but fall. The Imperial Thunder Sect was finally leaving. Master's wife, eldest apprentice brother, apprentice sister, junior apprentice brother Cui, junior apprentice sister Dui, Li Wuqing, all apprentice nephews. Xiaohua bit his lip, holding back the tears that fell. Although he had already mentally prepared himself when it came to truly parting, even though it didn't involve life and death, he still couldn't help but feel heartache. After all, when they met again, it was no longer their original bodies. Senior brother, godfather, uncle master, everyone bowed in unison. Xiaohua's heart ached when he saw this. His vision was a little blurry. He bowed deeply and called out, "Until we meet again." Then lightning flashed around his body and thunder rumbled. With a flash of light, Xiaohua's figure streaked across everyone's eyes, rushing out of the sky thunder peak. How dare you, this place? A late-stage Foundation establishment disciple in the sky was furious. He was about to shout at Xiaohua to stop flying. After all, the Imperial Thunder Sect had a rule that low-level disciples couldn't fly in front of the Sky Thunder Peak. However, when he saw Xiaohua instantly fly out of the Sky Thunder Peak and disappear into the sky, he was stunned and muttered, This is the Imperial Thunder transformation. How is this possible? Even Zhenqing turned pale with fright. However, after a moment, Zhenqing woke up and couldn't help but exclaim, He is nameless. Yes, in the entire Imperial Thunder Sect, how many people could cultivate the lightning escape technique to the Imperial Thunder transformation? It seemed that other than Sect Master Qian Lazy, there was only nascent soul Nameless who appeared briefly in the Dao Sword battle, right? At the same time, he suddenly realized that if Xiaohua didn't have Nameless strength, how could he know about Sun Qian? Instantly, everyone on the Sky Thunder Peak was stunned. Silence, not a single sound could be heard. The Great Thunder Palace expelled a disciple. This disciple wasn't an ordinary disciple of the Myriad Thunder Valley, but the famous terrifying phoenix in the Dao Sword battle. Furthermore, he was a nascent soul cultivator, the one who saved tens of thousands of Dao sect cultivators from the Sword Tomb, the one whose lightning escape technique was almost on par with the sect masters. Zhenqing immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. Her gaze swept over and she said coldly, This matter, no one can leak it out or else you will be killed without mercy. Then just as Zhenqing was about to fly, a wave of endless pressure like rolling waves pressed down on her, and an unrestrained divine sense also swept over. Sect Master has advanced. Zhenqing's expression shook. Although her body trembled under the pressure, she still cried out in surprise. Fortunately, the pressure and divine sense disappeared in a flash. Fairy Xianhua looked at Master Qian Lei's somewhat gloomy face and felt nervous. Fairy Yao Feng, Reverend Lei Meng, and the others lowered their heads and looked at the ground of the Great Thunder Palace expressionlessly. After the time it takes to drink half a cup of tea, Master Qian Lei raised his head and opened his eyes. His two lightning-like eyes swept across the Great Thunder Palace, the many palace masters and the many palace masters, whose faces were filled with fear. He opened his mouth and said sorrowfully, Alas! My Dao sect, who fought for more than 10 years, was defeated in the end. My Imperial Thunder Sect's disciple who tried to rescue Sky Patrol City was unable to escape the calamity. My Imperial Thunder Sect, who was annihilated by the myriad thunder lightning, lost its golden soup. My Imperial Thunder Sect, who lost its footing and was chased by the sky lightning. Fairy Xianhua and the others lowered their heads and looked gloomy when they heard this. Lei Meng. Master Qianlei didn't blame Fairy Xianhua, but coldly looked at Reverend Lei Meng and said, "Why did you agree to expel Xiaohua? Is it because you're afraid that the Heavenly Thunder Palace and Qianlei Palace will make things difficult for Xiaohua?" Yes. Hearing Master Qianlei's question, Reverend Lei Meng raised his head and looked directly at Master Qianlei. He answered without hesitation, "Xiaohua fought a bloody battle in the Dao Sword War and protected my Imperial Thunder Sect's first team from losing a single person. Later on, he joined the Assembly Hall's Special Task Force and once again made illustrious achievements in battle. Among sword cultivators, he was known as the terrifying phoenix that struck fear in people's hearts. However, it was because of a problem with the transmission of a message that thousands of aura-refining disciples besieged the myriad Thunder Valley. This was under the condition that Reverend Mi Yu and Reverend Guangtian hadn't returned, and the tens of thousands of disciples hadn't returned. If they had returned, I wouldn't dare to rule out the possibility that these disciples might have misunderstood Xiaohua. They weren't qi-refining disciples anymore. If someone challenged Xiaohua in the Thunder Plains, where would he go? I've heard that flowers within the walls are fragrant outside the walls. I'm afraid this is the truth, right? Instead of letting Xiaohua live in fear and danger in the Imperial Thunder Sect, it's better to let Xiaohua leave my Imperial Thunder Sect. Perhaps he can live for a few more years. Chapter 3061. Humph, do you think the tens of thousands of disciples of my Imperial Thunder Sect are so unreasonable? Don't you know that this punishment order is just a temporary measure? Master Qianlei said angrily. Reverend Lei Meng wasn't afraid. He knew that Master Qianlei was angry at the palace masters of Qianlei Palace and Qianlei Palace, not him. However, he still said bluntly, "Sect Master, everyone in the Great Thunder Palace knows that the punishment order is just a temporary measure. However, some people can't help but be jealous of Xiaohua's achievements and the rise of the myriad Thunder Valley. The challenge of 1,800 Foundation Establishment disciples is really beyond my expectations. Can you say that there are no people with bad intentions behind this? Besides, Xiaohua violated the sect law written by Ancestor Qian Yun himself, and Fairy Xianhua's punishment was also reasonable. Is there anything wrong with my secondment?" Alas, Master Qianlei sighed. That sect law was written by Ancestor Qian Yun, but it's no longer applicable. Why can't you break the old and create a new one? Expelling Xiaohua like this will not only chill the hearts of the disciples who survived the war, but also damage my Imperial Thunder Sect. Sect Master. Fairy Xianhua shook her head. "I don't agree with your words." Master Qianlei glanced at her and said indifferently, "Say it. It's important to break the old and create a new one, but it's even more important to uphold the strict rules of my Imperial Thunder Sect. Getting rid of a terrifying phoenix and expelling a Foundation Establishment disciple will make all the disciples understand the importance of abiding by the sect law. I think it's worth it. The surviving disciples and even the tens of thousands of disciples who come back will respect the sect law even more. They won't be arrogant and affect the sect's usual rules." Maybe so. Master Qianlei was a bit annoyed. He felt pity for Xiaohua. Not only did Xiaohua enter the Imperial Thunder Sect with the thunder-devouring bead, he also made a name for himself as a terrifying phoenix in the great battle of Dao and Sword. In the end, he even saved Qian Qinghua. It was really a pity that such a blessing was expelled just because the myriad Thunder Valley was gradually withdrawing from the Imperial Thunder Sect's formation. However, the punishment of Fairy Xianhua's group was quite reasonable. The founding ancestor of the Imperial Thunder School had indeed followed the rules, so Qianlei had nothing to say. At this moment, a palace guard came in and reported, "Zhen Qing of the Jade Archive Hall and Zhuo Minghui of the 10,000 Thunder Valley would like to see you. They have an extremely important matter." Oh. Master Qianlei was slightly taken aback, but Fairy Xianhua's heart skipped a beat as she inwardly calculated. Wasn't this the time when Xiaohua was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect, and the two of them flew from the Sky Thunder Peak to the Great Thunder Hall? When Fairy Xianhua turned to look at Lei Meng Daoist was also puzzled. "Let them in." Qianlei waved his hand. Yes, the palace guard answered. Not long after, Zhen Qing and Zhuo Minghui entered the Great Thunder Palace. Facing Qianlaizi, Zhou Minghui trembled even more. She stood behind Zhenqing and bowed respectfully. She did not dare to say anything. Zhenqing, Zhou Minghui, what's so important? Qianlaizi said calmly. Sect Master, Zhenqing gnashed her teeth, her face full of anger. Looking at the people on the praying mats, she asked word by word. Disciple wants to ask, who expelled Xiaohua from the Imperial Thunder Sect? Qianlaizi frowned and said indifferently, Zhenqing, you are now the Vice Palace Master of the Jade Archive Hall. Why do you not know the severity of the matter? You actually came to the Great Thunder Hall to question your master? When Xiaohua was expelled, didn't Zhou Minghui say that she was also in the Great Thunder Hall? She didn't tell you? Disciple naturally heard Zhou Minghui's words on the way here. However, Disciple wants to ask Sect Master. Zhenqing became even more sorrowful as she asked solemnly, do you know the details of the matter? I know. Qianlaizi nodded. Although I have just come out of seclusion, I have already received the report. Expelling Xiaohua was the collective decision of the Great Thunder Hall. If this old man was here, I would also do the same. Therefore this old man also agreed with their decision. Of course Xiaohua is very pitiful. However, the rules of the sect cannot be changed. Although he is a terrifying phoenix, he still has to bear the responsibility for his mistakes. AI, Zhenqing sighed deeply, then said word by word. Disciple came to the Great Thunder Hall not only to investigate who expelled the terrifying phoenix from the Imperial Thunder Sect, but also to ask, who was it that expelled our Imperial Thunder Sect's mighty sword cultivator and Dawn Rain Continent's nameless from the Imperial Thunder Sect? What? Qianlaizi was greatly shocked. He instantly stood up from the praying mat and appeared in front of Zhenqing in a flash. Lightning flashed around his body as he said hurriedly, you said, Xiaohua is nameless? Hearing Qianlaizi's words, Fairy Xianhua, Reverend Laizi and the others finally reacted. They were all moved and stood up, no longer able to sit calmly on the praying mat. That's right. Disciple came to the Great Thunder Hall precisely to report this extremely important news. Xiaohua is nascent soul nameless. You expelled a nascent soul disciple who had cultivated the lightning escape art to the Imperial Thunder Transformation realm. Zhenqing was not afraid of the lightning flashing in Qianlaizi's eyes as she said word by word. How is this possible? Even Reverend Laizi walked down from the praying mat and said in shock, Xiaohua is only a Foundation Establishment disciple. How do you know Xiaohua is nameless? Qianlaizi stared at Zhenqing without blinking and scolded, why didn't you report this earlier? Disciple didn't know before. However, when Disciple delivered Xiaohua's natal spirit tablet, I saw Xiaohua fly away from the Sky Thunder Peak and use the Imperial Thunder Transformation. Zhenqing took a deep breath and said, not only Disciple but all the disciples on duty at the mountain gate saw it. All the disciples in the Myriad Thunder Valley knew. Are you sure it was the Imperial Thunder Transformation? Qianlaizi's expression changed greatly as he roared. If Disciple couldn't be sure, how could Disciple dare to enter the Great Thunder Hall? Zhenqing was not afraid at all as she stared at Qianlaizi and answered. Quick! Qianlaizi waved his hand and ordered, send all the disciples on duty back to the Great Thunder Hall. Don't miss a single one. Yes, Zhen Yunzi and Dui Jie heard and hurried out of the Great Thunder Hall. Also, bring all the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley to the Great Thunder Hall. Qianlaizi didn't forget to order again. Yes, Zhen Yunzi didn't understand but he still answered. Phew, Qianlaizi let out a long breath and looked at the trembling Zhou Minghui. Under Qianlaizi's aura, Zhou Minghui's face turned pale. Minghui, Qianlaizi asked pleasantly, did you know Xiaohua was nameless? Disciple didn't know. Zhou Minghui whispered. Disciple only heard from third disciple Cui Hongshan that Xiaohua should be the horrifying phoenix. As for whether he was nameless or not, Disciple never thought about it and never asked. After all, he is only a Foundation Establishment disciple. How could he be a Foundation Establishment disciple? Qianlaizi was furious. He is your disciple and you didn't know? Disciple didn't know. Zhou Minghui knelt down in fright. Xiaohua's master is just a core condensation. How could Xiaohua be a nascent soul? How could disciple know? Wu Minghui get up. Qian Leizi bitterly smiled and hurriedly helped Wu Minghui up, saying, I'm not blaming you. Yes, disciple knows. Disciple also didn't expect Xiaohua to be nameless. Otherwise, Wu Minghui said pitifully. Otherwise what? She also didn't know what else. Since Xiaohua is nameless why didn't he say it before? Fairy Xianhua whispered, if we knew he was nameless how could we? Senior sister Xianhua, don't forget. Reverend Lazy shook his head, you said it before not to mention the horrifying phoenix, even if it was a nascent soul nameless, in front of the rules of the sect. We have to treat them equally. Did I say that? Fairy Xianhua murmured. Reverend Lazy sighed. He really wanted to watch the show from the side, but this matter was really too serious. Expelling a nascent soul realm disciple, this was the biggest joke in the Dawn Rain continent. As a member of the Imperial Thunder sect, how could he dare to stay out of it? Minghui. Qian Leizi looked at the palace master whose face was full of surprise, as well as the hall masters whose faces were filled with fear and terror. Tell me everything that happened after Xiaohua entered the Imperial Thunder sect. Yes, disciple understands. Zhuo Minghui thought for a moment and was about to speak. Don't be anxious. Qian Leizi turned around and sat on the praying mat. Looking at the hall masters he said indifferently, all of you leave. Before the Great Thunder Palace's order, no one can say half a word about today's matter. If anyone dares to say anything I'll kill them without mercy. Yes, disciple understands. All the hall masters shrank back, knowing that Qian Leizi was really angry. Lowering their heads, they quietly left the Great Thunder Palace. Poor Zhuo Minghui, she really didn't know much about Xiaohua. After talking for a while, Qian Leizi and the others still couldn't find any clues. However, it was clear that Xiaohua's love and attachment to the myriad Thunder Valley was real, which made Qian Leizi's heart move. He immediately interrupted Zhuo Minghui and said, Lei Meng, hurry up and go find Xiaohua. You have some fate with him and you're also the palace master of the Thunder Palace. He'll give you some face. Just say that I've already come out of seclusion and know that he was wronged, so I want to clear his name. Yes, disciple will go right away. Reverend Lazy hurriedly got up. Also, if he doesn't come back or feels that he doesn't have any face, you'll accompany him. Wherever he goes you'll follow. Just wait for my orders. Qian Leizi seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly ordered, I'll give him a lot of face. You must remember to let him know that my Imperial Thunder sect is his sect. Yes, disciple understands. Reverend Lazy didn't dare to be negligent. Xiaohua's expulsion could be considered as him adding fuel to the fire. Thinking about a nascent soul who could suppress Lu Ruochang, a third-grade illusory sword expert, as soon as he appeared, even Reverend Lazy himself didn't dare to say that he could win against 10 third-grade illusory swordsmen. Such a powerful nascent soul unexpectedly flew away just like that. Even if Master Qian Lei, a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, was disguised as a qi refinement cultivator, it was still impossible, right? Then there's only one possibility. Master Qian Lei said indifferently, Wu Ming isn't a nascent soul cultivator, he's probably just a golden core cultivator. In the Sword Tomb he was just a core condensation cultivator. It's just that. Wu Ming's core condensation cultivator's momentum is too great. It's close to that of a nascent soul cultivator. But, what kind of core condensation cultivator can be close to that of a nascent soul cultivator? This seems even more impossible, right? Fairy Xianhua was somewhat dumbfounded. This possibility is more likely than Xiaohua being a late-stage golden core cultivator when he entered the Imperial Thunder sect. Master Qian Lei said in a low voice, otherwise, my Imperial Thunder sect will be in danger. That's right, if Xiaohua deliberately made things difficult for the Imperial Thunder sect, then he must have done something to the Thunder Devouring Bead. At this time, most of the Imperial Thunder sect's protective array in the Thunder Devouring Bead had been activated by the Thunder Devouring Bead. Perhaps Xiaohua could break the Imperial Thunder sect's protective array with a raise of his hand, right? While they were talking, All the disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley, including Zhen Quan and the others, arrived at the Great Thunder Hall. Among the third-generation disciples, except for Xiang Zhili, who was calm and collected, Zhen Quan and the others were trembling with pale faces and gathered at the back. Xiang Yang, Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming had come to the Great Thunder Hall, so they were still normal, but Yan Qinglian couldn't. Just like Xue Minghui, she lowered her head and didn't dare to say a word. Wu Qing, on the other hand, looked around with indifferent eyes and only followed behind Cui Hongshan with a calm expression. Master Qianlei glanced around and saw everyone's reaction clearly. Xiang Zhili and Wu Qing's calmness surprised him slightly. After all, they were just aura-refining disciples in an environment where nascent soul cultivators often appeared. How could they not be disturbed by the solemn atmosphere? Indeed. That day I also checked it a little. Xiaohua should be a qi-refining disciple. So, Xiaohua is indeed Wu Ming. Master Qianlei nodded, and when he just joined our Imperial Thunder sect, he was indeed a qi-refining disciple. However, his magic power is profound, and he's comparable to a nascent soul realm cultivator when he's just a core condensation realm cultivator. Fairy Xianhua, Fairy Yaofeng, Lei Ting and Zhen Yunzi's faces changed slightly. If such a fierce person was pregnant, wouldn't he be comparable to a spirit-severing stage cultivator? What if he was distracted? They didn't dare to imagine. Yes, disciple also thinks so. Cui Hongshan didn't intend to hide it and he said everything he could. Come here. After Cui Hongshan finished speaking, Master Qianlei pointed at him. Yes. Sect Master. Xiang Zhili quickly walked in front of Master Qianlei. Weng, Master Qianlei's body flashed with lightning. As he stretched out his right index finger, a cyan lightning rushed into Xiang Zhili's body. Xiang Zhili didn't even have time to react and immediately fainted. Master Qianlei waved his hand, and Xiang Zhili's body floated up. Master Qianlei's hand flashed with lightning and solemnly pointed at Xiang Zhili's lower dantian. His eyes slowly closed, but after a moment, Master Qianlei opened his eyes again. He waved his hand and the lightning around Xiang Zhili's body disappeared. He slowly opened his eyes and they were filled with confusion. Do you know what Xiaohua did to you? Master Qianlei asked faintly. I know. Xiang Zhili nodded. This junior once asked my adoptive father for the lightning guiding technique. And Master Qianlei looked at everyone and asked, who else? Disciple Wu Qing answered faintly. Also Canine Girl. Dui Qiming didn't dare to hide and quickly said. Cui Yingying was still hiding in her mother's arms, and she didn't even dare to show her face. Chapter 3063. All right, said Master Qianlei nodding. He waved his hand, causing Xiang Zhili to land on the ground. However, seeing that Reverend Lei Tan was not seated, he asked, did Reverend Lei Tan personally instruct Xiang Zhili? Yes, Xiang Yang said anxiously, the Palace Lord did say that, but my son's cultivation level is still at the aura refinement realm. He hasn't given him any guidance yet. Yes, let him guide me personally in the future. Qianlei nodded, then looked at Fairy Wanfeng and said, Junior Sister Wanfeng, I'll leave this little girl to you. Fairy Yaofeng was taken aback, but she immediately recovered and nodded. This subordinate obeys. Wu Qing. Master Qianlei said. Yes, Sect Master. Wu Qing's expression was still indifferent. From now on, I will personally guide your cultivation. Qianlei said with a smile. What do you think? All right, thank you, Sect Master. Wu Qing actually didn't have the slightest trace of surprise and only replied softly. Haha, Qianlei smiled. He looked around and showed a rare kindness. The Valley of 10,000 Thunders has been destroyed by thousands of thunders. It no longer has any value. However, your myriad Thunder Valley's lineage will still continue just like before. This sect will give you a larger area so that you can recruit more disciples. I hope that when Xiaohua returns to the sect in the future, he will be able to see the difference in all of you. Xue Minghui and the others were pleasantly surprised. They could hardly believe their ears and thanked him in unison. All right, you can go back and wait. Master Qianlei said with a smile. However, when that bastard comes out of seclusion, tell him to come to Giant Thunder Hall to see me. AI, this sect is also stupid. Nameless, helpless, emotionless, isn't Xiaohua clearly nameless? Yes, but I've already begun to condense my Dan. It's just before the sect leader comes out of seclusion. I'm afraid he'll come out of seclusion very soon. Zhuo Minghui had some courage and hurriedly said, I reckon that he was also affected by the fluctuations of the Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Annihilation. That's why he condensed his core. Master Qian lazy nodded, but then he rolled his eyes and asked, by the way, does Xiaohua have a good partner in the sect? Zhuo Minghui replied, yes, Shueshuer and Sun Shu of Sun Lei Palace. If it wasn't for some misunderstanding, this disciple intended to propose marriage to Sun Lei Palace very soon. Zhuo Minghui actually pulled the supporting female lead out of thin air. This was truly out of Yan Qinglian and the rest's expectations. Even Dui Qimeng couldn't help but glance at Zhuo Minghui. She didn't know what her master's wife was thinking. There are 2 female cultivators. Qian lazy laughed. Reporting to sect master, Kai Hongxia of the Huanhua sect should also be one. Cui Hongshan hurriedly said. Master Qian Lei raised his eyebrows and glanced at Fairy Xianhua. Of course, Huanhua sect and Imperial Thunder sect were competitors. That's right. Zhen Qing suddenly smiled and said, back then at the Feather Immortal Gathering, as he spoke he recounted how Fairy Hongxia had betrayed him. Hearing this, Qian Lei's heart calmed down a bit. However, he couldn't guarantee that Xiaohua wasn't acting. Alright Zhen Qing, you can go back. Qian Lei says with a smile, as for Xiaohua's matter, this sect will make arrangements. Even if the expulsion order won't be revoked immediately, this sect will still satisfy you. Many thanks, sect master. The people of the Myriad Thunder Valley express their thanks again and leave the Great Thunder Hall with Zhen Qing. After Zhen Qing flew away, Zhuo Minghui looked at the somewhat gloomy sky outside the Great Thunder Hall and felt as if she had just woken up from a dream. What she experienced today was really too strange. Although her second disciple was expelled from the Imperial Thunder sect, which really made her sad, her second disciple brought her too many surprises. Guanyin Wu Ming. He was a disciple of the Imperial Thunder sect whose reputation was comparable to Qian Lei's. Everyone knew that after the war Wu Ming would definitely be put in an important position. As long as Wu Ming opened his mouth, there would definitely be no problem with the position of any Thunder Palace master. Unfortunately, this person had already gone and was no longer in the Imperial Thunder sect. However, it was really because Wu Ming went that the Myriad Thunder Valley received so many benefits. Not to mention other things, just thinking about Xiang Zhili, Wu Qing and Cui Yingying being taught by the 3 Thunder Palace masters, their future was incomparably brilliant. What was all this for? It was all because of Xiaohua's attachment to the Myriad Thunder Valley. The Imperial Thunder sect wanted Xiaohua to see their sincerity. Even if Xiaohua didn't return to the Imperial Thunder sect, as long as the Myriad Thunder Valley received good treatment, when the Imperial Thunder sect needed Xiaohua, would Xiaohua not appear? At least, this cultivator who was the #1 in any realm wouldn't make things difficult for the Imperial Thunder sect, right? Let's go, we'll wait and see your master condense his core. Fu Minghui smiled. This old thing was actually surpassed by his good-for-nothing disciple. When he finds out, I don't know how embarrassed he will be. Don't tell master. Cui Hongshan also smiled. Everyone knew that although Xiaohua had left the Imperial Thunder sect, his return was inevitable and very soon. Unfortunately, in this world, there were never things that ordinary people could predict. Not only did Xiaohua not return soon when he would return, the situation when he returned, even in their dreams they couldn't imagine it. This sect will send Lei Tingzi to Sky Patrol City to discuss the return of Imperial Thunder sect's disciples. Yes, this disciple understands. Taoist me, you didn't dare to ask anymore and turned off the communication. Chapter 3064. Damn it! The Xiaohua. Master Qianlei didn't sit down and just stood there, his brows furrowed. It's fine if he's nameless, but how can he have a sword transformation cultivation base? If he's a sword cultivator, how can he kill so many swordsmen? Unless he's a soul cultivator? Xiaohua is actually a soul cultivator. Isn't this too inconceivable? For a moment the entire Great Thunder Palace was silent again. Xiaohua being nameless was shocking enough. Xiaohua being a soul cultivator was absolutely unbelievable. It made people feel that there was nothing real in this world. After a while Master Qianlei asked, "What's going on with Xiaohua going to Million Mountain?" Fairy Xianhua hesitated and said, "It's said that after the first stage of the Dao Sword battle, Xiaohua went with the first team of the Great Thunder Palace to train. As for where he went, it seems to be Huan country. If junior brother Miyu is right, then it's Million Mountain. And junior brother Quangtian received a message from Xiaohua. It should also be from Million Mountain? And that's enough." Master Qianlei nodded. Whether Xiaohua is a soul cultivator or not, he still has my Imperial Thunder Sect in his heart, and he still sent the correct message to my Imperial Thunder Sect. Moreover, whether Xiaohua is a soul cultivator or a swordsman, doesn't Li Zongbao know? Doesn't Xiao Mao know? Especially these two people. They'd followed Xiaohua during the first phase of the battle, and they'd killed countless sword cultivators and obtained an extremely great amount of merit. If they'd noticed the slightest trace of uneasiness, they would have probably notified their seniors a long time ago, right? Xiaohua and the other three crossed Huan country and went straight to Million Mountain. I'm afraid they killed a lot of Huan country's sword cultivators. This is Huan country's plan to sow discord. Cough cough, Fairy Xianhua whispered, "Sect Master, don't forget Tu Hong." So what? Master Qianlei sneered. Chongbai Sect's disciples can have sword energy, but my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples can't. That's a sword transformation. Fairy Xianhua smiled bitterly. A sword that can break 10,000 techniques. How can an ordinary Dao Sect's disciple cultivate it? Alas, is Xiaohua a friend or a foe? Still so confusing. Even Qianlei scratched his head in the face of such a mysterious Xiaohua. But the sword cultivators have already revealed the fact that Xiaohua is nameless to Miyu. Their next step will be to let the other cultivation sects know. Zhen Yunzi said with some distress, "What should we do?" Yes, after the war someone must have come looking for Xiaohua. Duijia also smiled bitterly, but this John Doe was actually driven away by us. At the very least my colossal Thunder Hall has this command. This can't be taken back. He Qianlei sneered. Xiaohua is the horrifying phoenix, but Xiaohua is not nameless. Nameless is nameless. If you have a name, how can you still be nameless? Sect Master means. Fairy Xianhua's eyes lit up as she asked, "We don't recognize Xiaohua's wombing at all? When did Xiaohua say that he is nameless? If he doesn't admit it, how would my Imperial Thunder Sect know?" Qianlei nodded. Moreover, nameless is my Imperial Thunder Sect's nameless. Only my Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples are nameless. Unless Xiaohua comes to my Sky Thunder Peak and claims that he is nameless, how would I know that he is nameless? But if Xiaohua returns to Sky Thunder Peak, whether he is nameless or not, what difference does it make? Fairy Xianhua said with a smile. Looking at the endless sky, he took a deep breath and laughed self-deprecatingly. Alas, this Xiao is already several decades old. People often say that men don't easily shed tears. How can this Xiao be so easily sad? Other cultivators all have hearts of stone the more they cultivate, but this Xiao's heart is so soft. Is it just being expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect? The one who suffered losses is the Imperial Thunder Sect, not this Xiao. Moreover, if I miss Master, I can go to the Imperial Thunder Sect to visit. Isn't that so? Wait until this Xiao's nameless identity is gradually revealed. Presumably, when this Xiao goes to the Imperial Thunder Sect, Qianlei won't stop this Xiao from entering, right? Forget it. Now that I've escaped from the Imperial Thunder Sect, this Dawn Rain continent is so big, where can this Xiao not go? It's a pity that Xue Xue and Hong Xia have to suffer. If this Xiao doesn't make a big name for himself, it won't be easy for me to go to the Thunder Palace and the Washing Flower Sect to ask for their hand in marriage, right? With this Xiao's current cultivation. I'm afraid this Xiao is really a rogue cultivator with the highest cultivation. What's so difficult about establishing a sect? Fortune Gate. Perhaps now is the time to start on this matter. Second senior brother was able to establish the Heavenly Demon sect. Of course, he planned for hundreds or even thousands of years. But this Xiao's reputation as Taoist Master Xiao is not for nothing. This Xiao doesn't believe that my Fortune Gate is any worse than his Heavenly Demon sect. Thinking of Zhang Qingxiao, Xiao Hua naturally thought of Xiao Xinrui and Zhang Luer. When he entered the space and saw that Zhang Luer was still fine, he knew that this was not the time to go to Yellow Flower Ridge. Moreover, now that the Dao sword battle was over, Hanju must have returned from the Sky Patrol City. If he did not die in the Sky Patrol City, then the matter of the Buddhist sect's ruins would be Xiao Hua's first priority. The journey from the Imperial Thunder sect in the country of Shi to the Kunlun sect in the Ripple country was not short. If he rushed over now, he might just meet Hanju returning from the battle in the Sky Patrol City. Thus, Xiao Hua sorted out his mood and flew towards the Ripple country. Behind Xiao Hua, in the air thousands of miles away from the Imperial Thunder sect, Shan Zizi from the Immortal Ascension sect and Taoist Master Du Yi from the Immortal Music sect were flying together towards the Sky Thunder Peak. Their speed was not fast, but it was definitely not slow either. However, they deliberately concealed their whereabouts. Ordinary cultivators would only see them as cultivators in the late Foundation establishment realm. Taoist Master D. Shan Zizi released his divine sense and roughly looked around. He whispered, "The Imperial Thunder sect is just ahead. Should we follow the previous plan? Let's send a message to the Imperial Thunder sect. Fellow Taoist?" He Taoist Shan Zizi, if not, do you have a better idea? Taoist Master Du Yi smiled and asked. Shan Zizi was not polite. He nodded and said, "Yes, I've thought about it during this time. I feel that it's not the best plan if we wait outside the Imperial Thunder sect." But Taoist Master Du Yi raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, "Didn't we agree before? We can't attract the attention of the Imperial Thunder sect and let Qian Lazy and the others know about it?" Taoist Master Du Yi. Shan Zizi shook his head and said, "Think about it. Xiao Hua is the hero of the great battle of Dao Sword. Once he returns to the Imperial Thunder sect, won't he be praised by everyone? Won't he be followed by others wherever he goes? Moreover, after the great battle of Dao Sword, he has been training in the Huan country. When he returns to the Imperial Thunder sect, the biggest possibility is to cultivate in seclusion. The seclusion. Who knows how long it will take? Previously we said that it's easy to wait here, but in fact, is it that simple? Don't forget that Xiao Hua has cultivated from a small itinerant cultivator to the nascent soul stage in just a few years. If we give him a few more years, I'm afraid that you and I won't be his opponent even if we join forces. Hiss, Taoist Master Du Yi took a breath of cold air. He seemed to have thought of something. He turned to look at Shan Zizi and said in disbelief, "Could it be?" Shan Zizi hurriedly stretched out his index finger and put it on his mouth. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Taoist Master Du Yi, be careful with your words, be careful with your words." Taoist Master Du Yi immediately came to his senses. He hurriedly shut his mouth, thought for a moment and asked, "What do you think?" Although the array of the Imperial Thunder sect is powerful, it doesn't necessarily have no flaws. We may be able to find it if we join forces. If possible, let a familiar Taoist in the Imperial Thunder sect take us in. Shan Zizi said with a smile, "In this way, you and I can complete the heavy responsibility of the sect earlier, right?" "Yes, let's do as you say." Taoist Master Du Yi nodded. "You and I will part ways here and do our own things. When we figure out the situation, we will make a specific plan. As the saying goes, plans can't keep up with changes." Taoist Master Du Yi and Shan Zizi really understood the power of these words. However, in just an hour the two of them met in another place with extremely shocked expressions. Seeing that the other party was as stunned as them, the two of them almost laughed at the same time. After a little investigation, they flew toward the next teleportation formation. The greedy Xiao Hua actually escaped the pursuit of two nascent soul intermediate stage cultivators because of a thought. It had to be said that this was a miracle. Xiao Hua chased after the communication talisman for a while. Seeing that the communication talisman was heading straight in a direction, Xiao Hua did not chase after it. As long as the general direction was correct, that female cultivator called Ruo Taohong would definitely come out to welcome him. Thus, he unconsciously looked at the surrounding mountains with interest. He saw that the mountains near Qianhong Mountain were not high, and the undulations were not big. Under the warm sunlight, the mountains were covered with green grass and green trees, which were quite pleasing to the eye. From time to time, there would be the sound of a stream, but it was covered by the vegetation and could not be seen. It was precisely because of this tranquility that Xiao Hua could hear the cries of birds and the roars of beasts from time to time, which made him feel even more comfortable. Alas, the Dao Sword War has been going on for more than 10 years. I have never calmed down to cultivate, and even this kind of leisure is rare. When Jiang Luer is awakened, even if I can't bring Fairy Hong Xiao and Xue Xue out, I will have to calm down. The home that we Dao sect cultivators fought so hard to protect should be appreciated. As he looked at the nameless and beautiful scenery, he closed his eyes and listened to the ordinary and moving sounds of nature. Xiao Hua's slightly cold and desolate heart slowly calmed down. The gloominess in his heart also slowly disappeared, and an ethereal state of mind slowly appeared. That's right, the path to the heavenly Dao is long and long. Whether it is Yellow Flower Ridge, Heaven Forsaken, Golden Mount Hua, or Imperial Thunder Sect, they are all small relay stations. If I pass them, then I pass them. It is just like fate. Before this Xiao, there are still the ruins of the Buddhist sect and the Fortune Gate. Which one of them is not beautiful? Even if it is Meng Mountain, it is still beyond the Imperial Thunder Sect's reach, right? Xiao Hua's mouth revealed a smile. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.